The remaining 4 medicinal baths are also of great value. They can be used by others, and they may improve their strength. First, they came to the valley. It was almost night, and the valley was dark. Meng Yushin and others had returned to their caves. However, they were all called out by Zhou Daocheng. Each person had a large wooden barrel, and different amounts of bath soup were distributed according to their strength, and diluted with spiritual spring water. Soon, the steaming hot medicinal bath appeared in front of them. Everyone looked at them curiously, and for a while they were a little confused, wondering what was wrong with their young master. It was not until they got into the wooden barrel and experienced the fire cloud medicinal bath in person that they understood Zhou Daocheng's painstaking efforts. At first, they were also frightened by the strong burning sensation like Zhou Daocheng, and jumped out of the wooden barrel directly. But the next moment, they were immediately stuffed back by Zhou Daocheng. Because he knew very well that the burning sensation of the bath soup after a lot of dilution was not as strong as imagined, and with their strength in the late stage of qi refining, they could completely bear it. This is indeed the case. After they experienced the initial burning sensation, they soon felt a different kind of comfort. The hot medicinal power penetrated into the skin, removed the dirt and turbid air in the body, shuttled through every corner of the body, and carried out a comprehensive and in-depth cleansing, making them unable to control their groans. Relatively speaking, their feelings during the medicinal bath were stronger and the changes they received were greater. After all, Zhou Daocheng was younger and a family member. He was spoiled since childhood and had experienced few battles, so there was not much dirt in his body. But Meng Yushin and others were different. They had experienced various crises since childhood, fought with monsters in the wild all year round, and injuries were commonplace. Their cultivation life was also more difficult and tiring. Therefore, their bodies were damaged, far more than Zhou Daocheng. So this kind of medicinal bath had a more obvious effect on them. Zhou Daocheng only felt that black air kept coming out of their heads, and the sour and rotten stench floated in the air, making people nauseous. In order to prevent them from polluting the environment and destroying the ecological harmony in the valley, Zhou Daocheng also blew away the foul air and then used the spirit gathering array to purify the air. After more than 2 hours, the bath gradually became clear again. There was a bang, boom. The spiritual energy that broke through the dam surged out, and the invisible waves swept in all directions, blowing the grass, rocks and trees in the valley and raising huge dust. Seeing this scene, Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but show joy on his face. Old Meng has broken through. At the last moment, Meng Yushin successfully broke through the bottleneck of many years and reached a higher level. A hearty laugh came. Ha 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 ha. I finally broke through to the 9th level of qi refining. Ha 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 ha. Seeing Meng Yushin's excitement, Zhou Daocheng was in a very good mood. In fact, Meng Yushin's accumulation has long been enough. He is fully qualified to break through to the 9th level of qi refining, but he has always lacked an opportunity, which has prevented him from breaking through the bottleneck. The first grade, Fire Cloud Medicinal Bath, gave him this opportunity, and sent him to the 9th level of qi refining. On the side, Qinlai and Lin Yuan also cast envious eyes. However, their own aura has also reached the peak of the 8th level of qi refining, and they are only one step away from the 9th level of qi refining. Moreover, after the baptism of the Fire Cloud Medicinal Bath, their bodies have reached the most perfect state, and most of the bottlenecks have disappeared. It only takes a period of accumulation to successfully break through. Although Huangzhou and other qi refining 7th level cultivators are not talented enough and their strength is not strong, they have barely reached the peak of the 7th level of qi refining after the baptism of the medicinal bath. However, if they want to break through, they may need a certain opportunity. After all, they are not young and have passed the best time for cultivation. Without much communication, Qinlai and Lin Yuan said goodbye to Zhou Daocheng directly after the medicinal bath and went to the cave to practice. They have touched the opportunity of breakthrough and want to seize this opportunity as soon as possible. Zhou Daocheng did not stay long. He still had some fire cloud bath left, which he sent directly to the other 2 islands of Balin Lake. He wanted to protect Zhao Yunji in person, but was rejected by Zhao Yunji and kicked out. In desperation, Zhou Daocheng had to go to another island to give the 4 children a bath. However, this was a first-grade top-grade bath after all, and the medicinal power contained was too strong, and the strength of the 4 children was too weak. Zhou Daocheng was worried that they would be hurt. Therefore, he only left a small part for them, and diluted it a lot, filling 4 large wooden barrels. Only when the medicinal power was very weak did he let them bathe in it. As soon as they touched the light yellow liquid, the four people grimaced in pain. The burning sensation was very weak for Zhou Daocheng, but it was very fierce for the four of them. But Zhou Daocheng did not hesitate to press them all down. Soon, the body surface turned red, and a lot of sweat came out of the body surface, accompanied by a faint turbid air rising. Obviously the drug effect was taking effect in the body. Among the four, Zhou Daoshou and Lin Chengxi had the strongest physical fitness, and they were also better at fighting, so they easily endured the pain and began to enjoy the process of medicinal bathing. Zhou Daoyuan and Lin Chongshu, both of them had a gentle personality and were not good at fighting, but they had some talent in the art of cultivating immortals. So during the medicinal bath, they grimaced in pain. Obviously their physical fitness was weaker. However, Zhou Daocheng believed that when they completely absorbed the medicinal power in the bath, their physical fitness would definitely improve significantly. It took them most of the night to finish the medicinal bath, and the final result did not disappoint. Although they did not break through the realm, their strength was greatly improved, and their physical toughness was greatly improved. They were refreshed and energetic. Especially Lin Chengxi, who seemed to have endless strength. After putting on his own little robe, he swung his axe vigorously, and his strength was not much worse than that of an adult. Moreover, Zhou Daocheng noticed that this little girl should have learned a lot of fighting skills under the leadership of Meng Yushan and others, and she already had some rules when waving. Meng Yushan also mentioned to him that this little girl had a very good fighting talent, and was born to fight, and was a good embryo. Zhou Daocheng nodded with satisfaction. No matter what talents the children have, they should be taught according to their aptitude to perfectly reflect their own abilities and hobbies. Lin Chengxi and Zhou Daoshou like fighting, so let them join the hunting team. Lin Chongshu and Zhou Daoyuan like cultivating immortal skills, so teach them cultivating immortal skills. Taking advantage of today's opportunity, Zhou Daocheng also took some considerations on them. Lin Chengxi and Zhou Daoshou, both of them have just reached the 3rd level of qi refining, and are good at fighting. Zhou Daocheng asked them to have a simple competition to test their achievements in the past few days. As soon as the battle started, the characteristics of the two men were clearly revealed. Lin Chengxi was mainly domineering and fierce, with extremely strong offensive ability. He chopped continuously with an axe, and his momentum was like a rainbow. Zhou Daoshou held a long sword, with a restrained breath, and his fighting style was mainly steady. He focused on the balance of offense and defense, and he rarely attacked, but each time he attacked could bring great threats. One of them was reckless, and the other was steady, which was very similar to their own personalities, but it was undeniable that their fighting skills were good. However, Zhou Daoshou's fighting talent should not be better than Lin Chengxi, especially in terms of strength. Even if he blocked and retreated many times and tried to preserve his physical strength, Lin Chengxi seemed to have endless strength and did not give him a chance to resist. However, Zhou Daocheng could also see that Zhou Daoshou was not completely without a chance, but he avoided Lin Chengxi's fatal position and did not attack at a tricky angle. If a battle was a matter of life and death, Zhou Daoshou would have a higher chance of winning if he attacked the vital points directly without holding back. But in this competition, Lin Chengxi won in the end. Her power was too great, and her attack was too fierce. Once Zhou Daoshou gave up the chance to kill with a fatal blow, he would be attacked by a storm and taken away directly. Zhou Daocheng originally thought that such a way of failure would inevitably make Zhou Daoshou angry. But the situation was unexpected. Zhou Daoshou just got up from the ground calmly and said softly, "Brother, I lost and disappointed you." Zhou Daocheng looked at him quietly and said, "You had a chance to win. This is not a life and death battle. Under the rules of the ring, I lost." Zhou Daocheng's eyes showed a trace of approval and patted Zhou Daoshou on the shoulder. During this period, Zhou Daoshou also followed Meng Yushan and others to hunt monsters, and Meng Yushan and others' evaluation of him was completely different from Lin Chengxi. He has average talent, a calm and fierce personality, and he will go a long way in the future. Zhou Daocheng didn't think there was anything wrong with such an evaluation at first, but after seeing it with his own eyes, he understood the deep meaning. A person with talent defects can be evaluated as going further, which shows that his character and thinking can definitely make up for the lack of talent to a certain extent. Now it seems that this is true. Dao Shu, Chongxi, you are all very good, but in the next period of time, your Uncle Meng and Uncle Lin will go out to do things, so you will stay in Bailin Lake and practice with each other. Can't go out next. How about I go out with Lao Meng and Lao Lin? Lin Chengxi was calm and didn't look like a child at all. Zhou Daocheng glanced at her and knocked on her forehead, making him grimace in pain. "Brother Daocheng, why did you hit me? Humph, Lao Meng and Lao Lin, are you allowed to call them uncles in the future? Otherwise stay in Balin Lake and don't go out. Lin Chengxi was quite indignant, and his silver teeth chattered with anger, but he had no choice but to turn around and run away. Afterwards, Zhou Daocheng checked the situation of Zhou Daoyuan and Lin Chongshu. Both of them were mainly cultivating, supplemented by formations, and they were on a similar path as Zhou Daocheng. However, the two were much worse than Zhou Daocheng in terms of cultivation talent and formation comprehension. Fortunately, the two were calm and peaceful, and could calm down to study, which made up for the lack of talent to a certain extent. Moreover, Zhou Daocheng taught them all his experience without reservation to help them grow. The first set of formations they learned was the most commonly used and not difficult to arrange spirit gathering formation. It took more than a month for them to learn the formation diagram, and they still hadn't memorized it completely. Zhou Daocheng considered it and found that with their current level, they could only memorize about 1/3 of the formation diagram, and this was only the direction and layout of the lines in the formation diagram. However, the two had not yet touched on the various details in the layout. Zhou Daocheng shook his head slightly. It seems that with ordinary talent, it is not easy to become a formation master. It is no wonder that array masters are rare. Even if they have the inheritance, without the guidance of a teacher, they cannot learn this skill in most cases. Zhou Daocheng was not in a hurry. He took this opportunity to explain the knowledge of array to the two of them, and listed the details and key points that need to be paid attention to. At the same time, he also pointed out the mistakes of the two to facilitate their correction. There is no shortcut to the way of array. It is to keep learning, keep trying, keep practicing, and finally become an experienced array master. Of course, Zhou Daocheng has never gone through these processes once. There is no way. His talent is too high, and his mental power is extremely strong. Most of the arrays can be remembered at a glance. Moreover, when his talent was not weak, he had another epiphany, and the content of the epiphany was a deeper level of array ability. Many factors combined made many array skills very simple in Zhou Daocheng's eyes. And Lin Chongshu and Zhou Daoyuan needed more hard work. After testing the 4 children, the second sister Zhou Daoyu had already prepared breakfast and asked Zhou Daocheng to eat breakfast before leaving. The food was very rich. Each person had a bowl of porridge cooked with spiritual grains. It was soft, sticky, and the spiritual energy had been completely integrated into it. In the middle of the table, there were several small dishes, which were exquisite and beautiful. Red frost radish, white pear stir-fried bamboo shoots, oil sugar cakes. The dishes were colorful and the presentation was exquisite, which made people's appetite grow. Zhou Daocheng drank 2 bowls of water, and his physical strength was fully restored. He left with satisfaction. After returning to the underground cave, Zhou Daocheng made all the remaining materials into bath medicine bags. 3 bags of the first-level medium-quality Qingyang medicinal batha were made in total. 2 bags of the first-level high-quality Huajuyan medicinal batha were made. It happened that during this period, my second sister Zhou Daoyu was going to return to the family. Zhou Daocheng kept one of each of the 2 medicinal baths and took the rest back to the family. At the same time, he also brought the formulas of Qingyang medicinal bath and Huajuyan medicinal batha back to the family at the same time to facilitate the collection of materials together. In addition, Zhou Daocheng also sent a letter to the head of the family. He had heard before that there were second-level monsters around Shenline Mountain, and they needed to be alert to danger at all times. If they were not careful, they might face the crisis of extinction again. So, Zhou Daocheng still hoped to transfer some of the clan members here to keep some back roads for the family. Although there are relatively few islands in the center of Balin Lake, and it is not suitable for many people to live there, the underwater cave is under construction. It is not only hidden, but also deep underwater, and the spiritual energy is more abundant, which is a suitable place for seclusion. It takes almost a month for the second sister Zhou Daoyu to go back and forth. By then, the underwater cave will be almost built, just in time for the clan members to enter and practice. However, just as the Zhou family and Balin Lake were developing peacefully, something big happened in the Qingshan sect. Qingshan sect area, western border. A huge spiritual boat appeared in the sky. It is more than 500 feet long, and is made entirely of third-grade blue and white wood. There are vaguely mysterious lines, giving off a powerful aura. Even the foundation building experts looked extremely insignificant in front of this spirit boat, and even the powerful people in the Z Mansion were extremely afraid of it. On the spirit boat, there is a green mountain pattern engraved on the seal, which is the symbol of the Qingxin sect. On top of the spirit boat, several figures can be vaguely seen, wearing long gowns that are fluttering and celestial, also with green mountain patterns. When the spirit boat sailed through the city, it attracted the attention of a large number of monks. What is this? It's so huge. Is it a powerful magical weapon hidden by the Qingxin sect? You idiot, you don't know this. This is a spirit boat that only top sects can have. It combines various immortal cultivation techniques such as weapon refining, talismans, formations, etc. It consumes a huge amount of manpower and material resources to build it. So awesome. Why have I never seen it before? Let's not talk about how much the spirit boat consumes. Every time it is opened, it consumes hundreds of thousands of spirit stones. Moreover, the spirit boat represents a powerful person from the Zifu. How can it appear so easily? It is said that the strength of the spirit boat is far beyond that of the ordinary Zifu. It is equivalent to the power of the late Zifu. It is a reflection of the powerful sect's heritage. Even the Qingxin sect only has one. Tisk, it's true, there are several Z-Mansion forces within the Qingxin sect, but only the Qingxin sect can build a spirit boat. Fellow Taoists, don't worry about how the spirit boat is built. Every time the spirit boat is started, it consumes a huge amount of energy. So why does it appear this time? I don't know. Judging from the direction they are going, it should be to the west. Lingding sect. A monk's face changed drastically, and he immediately noticed something unusual. It seems that something big happened recently. He rashly sailed the spirit boat to other sects. Is this going to start a war? Start a war? It won't happen. No, it is really possible. It is said that many powerful foundation builders from many forces have been recruited, and prices in the market have also fluctuated recently. Mad, don't worry, let's go first. As he said this, some casual cultivators ran towards the gate of Fangxi, but were directly stopped by the stationed cultivators. What are you doing? Why are you blocking my way? Bianfang City is temporarily under full control. You are not allowed to go out at will. Please return to Fang City. At the border between Qingxin sect and Lingding Middle, near a huge spiritual vein, a large number of monks have gathered, and they have generally reached the foundation building stage. Ma Hongtu of the Ma family, Chen Jiaonian of the Chen family, the leader of the Spirit Snake sect. Almost all the prominent figures from all the forces were recruited. Just looking at the spirit boat flying in the sky, his expression was extremely ugly. I originally thought that this was just a small fight between the Zifu sects. After a few small-scale battles, they would negotiate for peace. However, after seeing the battle at the scene, everyone had a vague premonition in their hearts. If even an existence like the spirit boat is activated, it means that the Qingxin sect has taken serious action and will never give up. There is only one thought in everyone's mind. Those are the two major sects, and they are likely to become really popular. This is not a good sign. A war between large sects is a disaster for small forces, and is likely to cause a major reshuffle of the Qingxin sect's regional forces. Therefore, the faces of all the foundation building experts present were very ugly. In their respective forces, they are almost all clan leaders. Once they die here, the consequences will be disastrous. If there is more than one strong foundation builder in the force, then the situation is relatively good. If he is the only strong foundation builder, once he dies here, the power that has been passed down for thousands of years will probably be destroyed. Therefore, many foundation building experts began to secretly pass on messages and instruct their tribesmen to make various preparations. Either accumulating various resources just in case, or relocating clan members to a secret location, or gathering forces and trying to purchase foundation establishment pills to prevent the inheritance from being cut off. But it wasn't until all parties went deep into the market that they discovered that most of the important resources had been captured by the Qingxin sect. Especially for strategic resources such as foundation establishment pills, not even a single one is spared. For a time, the entire Qingxin sect area was unstable and people were panicked. Even the casual cultivators began to move away from the whirlpool of the battle and migrated to the east and south. The turmoil in the world of cultivating immortals cannot affect the Zhou family's Deep Forest Mountain and Balin Lake at all. Even the Zhou family didn't know what was going on outside. After all, due to the pressure from the Ma family and the Chen family, they did not dare to show their faces easily in the surrounding markets. Moreover, with the current wealth of the Zhou family, they cannot afford to buy anything at all. Not to mention the foundation establishment pill, even the money to purchase the qi nourishing pill had to be dug out from between the fingers. It was simply too poor. If it weren't for the rich resources around Deep Forest Mountain, including wild vegetables, wild fruits, and monsters, they would all have starved to death here. And recently, because of the threat from the second-level monsters, the family has once again consolidated its power, and all the clan members are living in a small area, silently licking their wounds. Relatively speaking, the situation in Balin Lake is much better. With Meng Yushan, Lin Yuan, and Qin Lai successfully breaking through the 9th level of qi refining, and Zhao Yunji also successfully breaking through the 8th level, Balin Lake's overall strength has improved a lot. Together with Iron Arm Barbarian Bear and Zhou Daocheng, they have the combat power of 5 9th level qi refiners. Moreover, although Zhou Daocheng is only at the 8th level of qi refining, his strength is comparable to the peak of the 9th level of qi refining, or even more. This kind of strength is already considered very strong in the remote Balin Lake area. At least the surrounding casual cultivators cannot reach such strength. Moreover, Zhou Daocheng will further improve their combat power. After Meng Yushan, Lin Yuan, and Qin Lai successfully broke through, Zhou Daocheng has been doing two things. The first is to let the three learn the secret method of spirit, and the second is to prepare a special formation for them. Qin Lai is the strongest with fire spirit roots, and the cultivation method is also fire attribute. It should be mainly attacking and killing. However, Qin Lai stays in the valley all year round, responsible for alchemy and underwater cave construction on a daily basis, and does not have a great demand for attack formations. Therefore, Zhou Daocheng only prepared a flame spirit formation for him, which is a fusion of the flame formation and the gathering spirit formation. It is only a first-level medium-grade formation, but it is very helpful for his alchemy. As for garrisoning in the valley, Zhou Daocheng will arrange other formations in the valley, and there is no need to prepare them specifically for Qin Lai. As for Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan, because they need to go out to establish a hunting team, they need to further enhance their strength. Meng Yushan's skills are earth attributed, and his methods are also earth attributed, so Zhou Daocheng consumed a lot of resources here, bought the materials needed for the A quicksand formation, and refined a set of quicksand formation array plates. However, the process of purchasing the materials for this array plate made Zhou Daocheng feel distressed. Because of the upcoming war, the resources in the market have been greatly reduced, and the prices have also increased a lot. Zhou Daocheng only had 20 medium-grade spirit stones left, but in order to improve his strength as soon as possible, he still gritted his teeth and used medium-grade spirit stones to buy materials. In the end, he bought all the materials at a price 30% higher than the market price, but almost all the spirit stones on his body were consumed. However, after Meng Yushan had the first grade upper grade a quicksand formation, his strength was indeed greatly improved, much stronger than the same grade strongman. Moreover, Zhou Daocheng also strongly requested him to learn the quicksand technique. The formations and spells with matching attributes cooperated with each other. As long as there was no foundation building strongman, Meng Yushan would hardly meet an opponent. Lin Yuan had 3 spiritual roots of water, wood, and gold, among which the wood and gold spiritual roots were stronger, but he was practicing a water-attributed technique, which was actually not suitable. Zhou Daocheng considered for a long time, and finally used the remaining first-grade upper-grade yellow thorn vine to make a set of a golden spear 100 vine formation for him. Without spells, and with attributes that are not fully compatible, his strength is relatively weaker than Meng Yushan's. However, if it is just to deal with casual cultivators, the strength of the two is enough. In addition, for the safety of the two, Zhou Daocheng also prepared 2 sets of a splitting gold formation for each of them as a backup to avoid accidents. When everything was ready, more than half a month had passed. The turmoil on the western border of Qingshan sect has begun to radiate to the entire Qingshan sect area. For a time, the territory of Qingshan sect was in turmoil, and all forces felt great pressure and began to leave backups in secret. Therefore, there are many casual cultivators around Baihifeng city, which is far away from the center of the vortex and in a relatively remote location. Even near Balin Lake, casual cultivator teams occasionally began to appear, which had never happened before. It is obvious that the density of casual cultivators around has increased a lot. For this reason, Zhou Daocheng also accelerated the process, allowing Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan, who were well prepared, to officially leave the valley and resume their former casual cultivator life. Back then, when the two disappeared from the casual cultivators, they were only at the 8th level of qi refining. Now that they reappeared, they had broken through to the 9th level of qi refining. Once they appeared, they attracted the attention of many people. Some casual cultivators who had known the two also wanted to join their team. However, Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan left this time with Zhou Daocheng's mission, to form a strong team that can be absorbed into the valley. Since the number of times the spiritual secret method can be used is limited, it is necessary to select casual cultivators with strong strength, high talent, or special skills. Therefore, these crooked melons and cracked dates were naturally rejected by them, and they chose to recruit casual cultivators with better quality. It must be said that the attraction of the two ninth-level Qi refining masters among casual cultivators is much greater than imagined. The two quickly integrated into the casual cultivator group, and many casual cultivators with good quality found the two, hoping to form a hunting team together. It's just that Zhou Daocheng didn't know much about these things. He was still hiding in the valley at the moment, secretly practicing and developing. This period of time was quite busy. First, he prepared the medicinal bath formula, then he had to prepare for Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan's outing, and he had to find time to teach the children, which consumed a lot of his time. So, when the valley and Balin Lake calmed down, Zhou Daocheng also resumed his practice. The last time he went to Baihifeng City, he spent more than 6,000 spirit stones, of which he bought a lot of earth-attributed practice resources, which happened to be all available now. In the underground cave, Zhou Daocheng sat cross-legged on the ground, with earth-attributed practice resources piled in front of him. There were more than 20 of the most common earth essence grass, but Zhou Daocheng did not absorb them, but carefully planted them around the practice room to enhance the surrounding earth-attributed spiritual energy. Rhamania glutinosa essence, white yin soil, the skin of earth scale flower insects, the essence and blood of earth armor beasts. These can all help to improve strength. It's just that the varieties are more complicated, so it is necessary to use the Wutu Kun Yu Gong to refine them many times, and finally transform them into pure Wutu spiritual energy. In just a few days, the strength has improved a lot. Finally, there is a first-class top-grade pill, the condensing Qi pill, which can increase the mana of the late-stage Qi refining cultivator by 30%. It is very expensive and cost a lot of spirit stones to buy it. After Zhou Daocheng refined it, his strength increased again by a large margin, directly reaching the late stage of the 8th stage of Qi refining, and his aura quickly stabilized, almost touching the threshold of the peak of the 8th stage of Qi refining. Next, he only needs to practice slowly and use time to precipitate the aura. If everything goes well, he can break through in about 1 to 2 years. While Zhou Daocheng was concentrating on practicing, his second sister Zhou Daoyu had already returned to the Zhou family in Shenline Mountain. He gave the medicinal bath formula and the letter to the head of the family, Zhou Chengyi. Zhou Chengyi was also half believing and half doubting about the effect of the medicinal bath formula, but thinking that it was sent back by Zhou Daocheng, he became cautious. This grandson has more secrets than he imagined. The last time the spiritual honey had already opened his eyes, so he did not dare to underestimate the medicinal bath formula this time. As for the matter of transferring the clan members, Zhou Chengyi made a decision immediately after just a little thought. Since Zhou Daocheng was willing to take the clan members over and said there was a place for them to stay, he could only choose to believe it. Moreover, transferring some of the clan members over would indeed be safer and more conducive to the development of the family. Zhou Chengyi did not hesitate in selecting personnel. He directly selected half of the most valuable weapon refiners in the family and asked Zhou Daoyu to take them back. In addition, during this period, the family's mortals prospered and many Dao generations were born. Therefore, a group of children with higher talents were also transferred, of which 4 had 3 spiritual roots and had higher cultivation talents. There were also 3 children with 4 spiritual roots, but they had some talents in refining equipment. They happened to follow the equipment refiners and might be able to train a group of equipment refiners for the family. So, there were a total of 7 children. In recent years, the number of Dao generations in the Zhou family has continued to increase, and now there are 23 people. These are the future of the family, the roots of a towering tree. And now, Zhou Daocheng alone has assigned 9 people, and they are all children with higher talents. This is enough to show that the head of the family has almost unconditional trust in his eldest grandson. And the focus of the family's future is also moving to Balin Lake. After the arrangements were made, the group left Shenline Mountain in a mighty manner and set off towards Balin Lake. Half a month later, when Zhao Yunji saw more than a dozen Zhou family members, she was also shocked. The underwater cave was secret, and Zhao Yunji did not dare to arrange them to live there at will, so they could only live on the island temporarily. After more than 10 days, Zhou Daocheng absorbed all the earth-attributed cultivation resources, and his strength reached the peak of the 8th level of Qi refining in one fell swoop. When he successfully came out of retreat, he was notified by Zhao Yunji to come and deal with it. Looking at the 6 elders of the weapon refiners and the 7 descendants of the Dao generation, Zhou Daocheng was also quite surprised. He did not expect that the head of the family actually sent all the elites of the family here. Meet Brother Daocheng. Meet the 3rd elder. Zhou Daocheng was also shocked by the address of the group. He had just come to Balin Lake not long ago. How could he have the title of the 3rd elder? If he remembered correctly, only the clan members who reached the 9th level of qi refining could be honored as elders by the family, and he was obviously not qualified. After careful inquiry, Zhou Daocheng knew that the head of the family, Zhou Chengyi, promoted him to the elder of the family after he left. Of course, the reason was also very sufficient. In the Zhou family today, there are only 2 9th-level qi refining masters, the head of the family Zhou Chengyi and the eldest brother Zhou Daobai, and Zhou Daocheng has a top-grade iron-backed wild bear of the 1st level, so it is natural for him to become the 3rd elder. Zhou Daocheng was also quite helpless about this. It seemed that the head of the family was determined to hand over the family to the descendants of the Dao generation. As a descendant of the Zhou family, he had to bear this responsibility. Looking at the clan members in front of him, Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but feel a heavy responsibility in his heart, and took the initiative to say, "Don't be polite, I will arrange accommodation for everyone. I'm sorry for all the trouble these days." Daocheng, there's no need to say that. The family has already told us before we left. After arriving at Balin Lake, all matters will be arranged by you, Daocheng. An old man of the Chong generation said with a smile and a kind tone. Zhou Shuzheng, the uncle of the Shou generation, also smiled and agreed. Yes, although we are older, in terms of the importance of family inheritance, Daocheng, you are the elder. If you have any needs and arrangements, just tell the uncles. Zhou Daocheng also smiled. It seems that I have arranged for the head of the family. None of the people who came are troublemakers. They are all real family elites. Then Daocheng thanks everyone for their trust. I will arrange accommodation for you now. Hearing this, Zhou Chengyan stroked his beard and said with some doubts, "Isn't there only 3 islands in Balin Lake? Just arrange us here, no need to bother." Zhou Daocheng smiled and said, "Who said there are only 3 islands in Balin Lake?" Everyone wait. Amid the curious eyes of everyone, Zhou Daocheng left the island and then found Zhao Yunji to ask about the construction of the underwater cave. This is a huge project. Even if it is built by a cultivator himself, it will take a lot of time. In the past 1 or 2 months, Zhao Yunji and Qin Lai were fully responsible and worked almost day and night, and finally completed a part of it. Zhao Yunji said seriously, "Although the underwater cave house has not been fully built, a group of small cave houses for living have been built on the side far away from the valley according to your requirements. Take me to see it. There is no need to rush for the underwater cave house on the other side of the valley. Let's settle the Zhou family members first." Zhou Daocheng arranged calmly. After owning a whole water-repellent stone vein, Zhao Yunji redrew the blueprint at Zhou Daocheng's request and expanded the scale of the underwater cave house a lot. The entire underwater cave house will be built in 3 parts, and the 3 areas are not connected to each other. The first part is the residence of the Zhou family members, built at the north entrance of Balin Lake, which is far away from the valley. It is mainly for living and cultivation, and contains a large number of living facilities, such as cultivation room, spiritual plant room, refining room, kitchen, bedroom, hall, and so on. It does not require to be built luxuriously, but only requires a wide area and comfortable living. The second part is the area near the valley, which is also mainly used for living and cultivation, and is used for people from Shanhai sect to live. Compared with the underwater caves in the Zhou family area, the underwater caves of Shanhai sect pay more attention to concealment. Each cave is separated from each other and does not affect each other. The third part is the warehouse that Zhou Daocheng specifically requested to be built, which is specifically used to store resources and goods. There will be 2 warehouses in total, located on the east and west sides of Balin Lake, and the locations are extremely hidden and difficult to be discovered. Of course, these are just plans. Now only the underwater caves for the Zhou family members have been built, and the other 2 have not yet officially started construction. Under the leadership of Zhao Yunji, Zhou Daocheng took the lead in visiting the underwater caves prepared for the Zhou family members. As soon as he entered it, Zhou Daocheng was attracted by this unique underwater building. First, there is a long and narrow passage, which is built with water-repellent stones and blue stone slabs. It is nearly 100 meters long and connects to the bottom of the lake. Balin Lake is 30 to 40 feet deep, and all the underwater caves are built at the bottom of the lake. If there is no waterproof stone to protect it, the pressure of the lake water alone can completely crush the building. When you officially enter the living area, the road becomes much wider, about 1 foot. Here is the main body of the underwater cave. There are dozens of caves of various sizes on both sides of the passage, including various types and uses, such as living, cultivation, meeting rooms, schools, etc. Zhou Daocheng opened a cave at random. The internal area is not large, only about 20 square meters. It looks square and should be a standard cultivator cave. Then he opened a few more and found that they were all the same. They can only provide one cultivator for cultivation and life. Although the space is relatively small, it is relatively comfortable. Moreover, Zhou Daocheng can feel that the spiritual energy here is relatively rich, and it should be very good to cultivate here. Zhao Yunji also explained that the situation is similar to what Zhou Daocheng guessed. This is indeed a cave for living and cultivation. It is located directly above the first-level middle-grade spiritual vein, so the spiritual energy is relatively rich. Behind the cultivation cave, there are also special meeting rooms, equipment refining rooms, power transmission rooms, planting rooms, dining rooms, etc. These rooms are relatively large and can be considered public areas. Quote. Zhou Daocheng nodded secretly. The facilities here are very complete and can fully meet the living needs of a small number of tribesmen. After a round of walking, Zhou Daocheng also had a general understanding of the situation here. However, when Zhou Daocheng walked to the deepest part, he actually found that there was a house with the words, planting room, written on it. He couldn't help but ask curiously, Yunji, can crops be planted here? Zhao Yunji smiled and explained. Of course, the water-repellent stone directly drained the lake water, leaving the silt at the bottom of the lake. I saw that the soil was very fertile, so I didn't clean it up. It should be used for planting. Quote. As they spoke, the two pushed open the stone door and walked into the deepest room. The interior looked rather dim, but the area was quite large. The ground was not paved with floors, but moist and fertile lake mud. Some plants and animal corpses in the water could be vaguely seen. This was exactly what the bottom of Balan Lake looked like. Zhou Daocheng also understood Zhao Yunji's idea. The environment here was indeed suitable for growing some special spiritual plants, especially some plants that did not need sunlight and grew in dark areas all year round. Zhou Daocheng also agreed with this arrangement. No matter what kind of spiritual medicine and spiritual plants are planted, it will eventually bring considerable harvest. After looking at the entire underwater cave, Zhou Daocheng nodded with satisfaction. Such an underwater cave with a hidden location and built completely on the spiritual vein can be used as a secret residence of the Zhou family. This will be a retreat for the Zhou family. Hiding a group of forces here can also be regarded as preserving the fire for the family. After confirming that it was correct, Zhou Daocheng returned to the island and brought the Zhou family members together. When they walked into the passage and saw the underwater cave in front of them, they were shocked and speechless. Even the elderly Zhou Chengyan, who thought he had seen a lot of the world, was shocked by the scene in front of him. He never thought that there was a hidden underwater cave under the Balan Lake. It was simply incredible. After looking around, he couldn't help but asked in surprise, Daocheng, how did you do this? Is it also a formation method? Zhou Daocheng didn't explain too much, because this involved too many of his secrets, so he just perfunctorily said a few words and settled the clan members. The Zhou family members were shocked at first, but then they were delighted. Why did the family move them here? It's because Shenline Mountain is not safe enough. On the one hand, they need to be vigilant against the threat of the second-level monsters, and on the other hand, they need to prevent the Ma family and the Chen family from finding their traces, so they need to resort to this last resort. And this underwater the cave is safe and hidden. The only drawback is that the area is not large, the living environment is relatively compact, and it is not as comfortable as on the ground. And it is just a hiding place. If you want to develop it, the potential is still relatively low. But even so, several members of the Zhou family are still smiling and very satisfied with it. Afterwards, everyone brought all the supplies they brought into the underwater cave, and after each of them arranged a cave, the Zhou family settled down here. After seeing that the family members had made arrangements, Zhou Daocheng also found Zhou Chengyan and asked some questions. Daocheng, why are you looking for Grandpa? Grandpa Chong Yan, I want you to refine a magical weapon for me. Zhou Daocheng expressed his thoughts directly. He has always used formations as his main means of combat, but he has never had a powerful magic weapon. This is equivalent to a weakness of his and needs to be made up for. Zhou Chengyan is a first-level high-grade weapon refiner. He has devoted his whole life to refining weapons. His skill in weapon refining is superb, so he is naturally a very suitable choice. Zhou Chengyan touched his beard and asked with some surprise, Daocheng, you are so powerful, haven't you ever had your own magic weapon? Zhou Daocheng smiled and said, there are a few magical weapons that I obtained accidentally, but they are mainly used for defense. I am not particularly suitable for them. Hearing this, Zhou Chengyan nodded and said seriously, no problem, although my skills are not as good as that guy Daochi, but there is still no problem in refining a few first-level high-grade magic weapons. What type of magic weapon do you need? Quote. Zhou Daocheng thought about it for a while. He had an idea for his own magical weapon. The most important thing was to match his technique. So he replied, Earth attribute, 1 attack and 1 defense. It is best for the attacking magic weapon to be long range, and the defensive magic weapon is best to cooperate with the formation. Zhou Chengyan frowned slightly. These requirements were indeed quite troublesome, and they were not something that ordinary first-order high-grade magic weapons could satisfy. After thinking for a while, he said carefully, Daocheng, you have a powerful aura and focus on defense, and the combat method is mainly based on formations, without the need for close combat, so as for defensive magic weapons, I think heavy armor magic weapons more appropriate. As for the offensive weapons, I suggest mainly using bows and arrows. They are highly lethal and flexible enough to be used in various tactics. What do you think? After listening to the opinions, Zhou Daocheng considered it for a moment and found that the two did meet his requirements, so he agreed, just refine it according to Grandpa's idea. Just ask me for any materials you need. Zhou Chengyi waved his hand and said with a smile, it doesn't matter, I just brought some weapon refining materials this time, which is enough for you to refine the magic weapon. Just come and get it in 2 months. Zhou Daocheng was not polite and said, then thank you Grandpa Chengyan. There is no need to say thank you. We are connected by blood, and you are the pillar of my Zhou family, so refining a few magical weapons is of no concern. Zhou Daocheng also smiled. People of the same clan and clan really don't care much about interests. Arrangements were made for several members of the Zhou family, including the 7 children they brought, to be placed in the underwater cave, just enough to learn weapon refining from the elders. The 4 of them, Dao Yuan, Dao Shou, Changxi, and Changshu, still live on the island and are taught by Zhou Daocheng himself. Life returned to calm. Balan Lake and the valley developed in an orderly manner, and Zhou Daocheng also returned to the underground cave to practice. He has now reached the peak of the 8th level of qi refining, and is only 1 step away from the 9th level of qi refining. If he can break through as soon as possible, he can also start preparing for foundation building in advance. However, after returning to the underground cave, Zhou Daocheng took the lead in checking the situation of the spirit-eating ants. As the most potential combat force in his hand, Zhou Daocheng cared about them very much. Not only did he use the spiritual fertile soil to rebuild their nests, but he also provided a large number of spiritual resources, hoping that they could reproduce as soon as possible. Arriving at the spirit beast room, the place was completely filled with spiritual fertile soil, and had been built into a home by spirit-eating ants, with large and small caves extending in all directions. Zhou Daocheng also had a general understanding of the entire ant colony with the help of the spirit-swallowing ant queen. Through this period of development, the ant colony has regained its vitality slightly, and the first batch of eggs have begun to hatch, but the number is relatively small. There is nothing that can be done about it. It is very different from ordinary ant colonies. Spirit-devouring ants are spiritual insects, and their reproduction consumes a huge amount of spiritual energy. Therefore, it is difficult for the queen of spirit-devouring ants to produce a large number of ant eggs at one time. Especially in the early stage, the population is already scarce and unable to supply sufficient spiritual honey, which makes reproduction extremely difficult. Even though Zhou Daocheng provided artificial spiritual honey, the queen still only laid 20 eggs when the first batch of spirit-swallowing ants hatched. There are still dozens of days left before full hatching. Zhou Daocheng entered the ant nest and checked the condition of the 20 ant eggs. He found that the vitality was quite strong, and through the white outer skin, he could see a faint purple breath flowing out from the inside, which should be derived from the innate purple energy. Zhou Daocheng is also very curious, what changes will happen when the spirit-swallowing ants completely absorb the innate purple energy? Will it be like Bailing bamboo, which will essentially improve its grade? Or will it slightly change the characteristics of this spiritual insect? All in all, the innate purple energy has been integrated into the bloodline of the spirit-swallowing ant queen, but what kind of development it will develop in the future, Zhou Daocheng is still worth looking forward to. Afterwards, he took out a portion of the spiritual honey again and gave it to the second-order male spirit-swallowing ant, asking him to collect it and use it to replenish energy for the queen ant. The ant colony is still too small now, and this second-level male spirit-devouring ant is the main laborer. Whether it is collecting spirit honey or guarding the ant nest, she is solely responsible for it. At first, this second-level male spirit-devouring ant was very wary and showed intention to attack Zhou Daocheng. However, after being disciplined by the spirit-swallowing ant queen, he has become much docile now and can obey Zhou Daocheng's orders to a certain extent. After confirming that there was no problem with the ant colony, Zhou Daocheng left the spirit beast room and returned to the training room to practice. Nowadays, many earth essence grasses are planted in the training room, giving the aura in the air a hint of earth attribute. Practicing in such an environment can slightly increase his practice speed and warm up his body to a certain extent, with very good results. However, Zhou Daocheng frowned and opened his eyes after only a few days of practice. There were too few earth essence grasses, and the earth attribute energy released in the air was too little. After only 2 or 3 days of absorption, it was completely absorbed. Zhou Daocheng deeply felt that with the earth essence grass, his practice speed increased by 20% to 30% in the past few days. Earth attribute aura has the same effect as earth attribute practice resources, which can increase one's practice speed. If you can practice in a rich earth attribute environment all the time, your practice speed will definitely increase significantly, but it's a pity that there are too few earth essence grasses. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but sigh. At this moment, an idea suddenly emerged in his mind. Since the earth attribute aura is so important, can we use the formation to artificially create an earth attribute environment? Zhou Daocheng immediately started looking for a suitable formation. After searching for a while, he finally found a defensive formation in the first-grade superior formation, named Thick Earth Formation. The original function of the formation was to use the earth attribute aura to condense a thick defense to resist attacks. The function is somewhat similar to the Earth Defense Formation, but the effect is better, it consumes more aura, and the defense strength is correspondingly stronger. Moreover, the inside of the formation is also full of Earth attribute aura, which is very suitable for cultivation. However, the pure, thick Earth formation is not suitable for cultivation, because the Earth attribute energy in it is also limited and difficult to maintain for a long time. However, if the thick earth formation can be integrated with the gathering spirit formation, it can continuously convert all the non-attribute aura into earth attribute aura, thereby supplying the operation of the thick earth formation. In this way, not only can an environment suitable for cultivation be created, but the defensive effect of the thick earth formation itself can also greatly improve the safety of the cultivation environment. The more so, Zhou Daocheng really thinks this method is feasible, so he immediately began to try the formation fusion. The fusion of the thick earth formation and the gathering spirit formation was not particularly difficult. After all, the first fusion formation Zhou Daocheng tried was the fusion of the earth defense formation and the gathering spirit formation. He had already mastered the process. It took him several days to integrate the spirit gathering array into the thick earth array to create a thick earth spirit array of better quality that can continuously absorb spiritual energy. However, there is still a serious problem now, that is, the lack of array materials. Zhou Daocheng did prepare a lot of auxiliary materials for the first-grade top-grade array, but Zhou Daocheng had never heard of the first-grade top-grade earth attribute core material required for the thick earth spirit array deep rock thick soil. However, after thinking for a while, Zhou Daocheng's eyes lit up and he thought of another high-quality soil in his hand, fertile spiritual soil. This kind of soil used by the soul-devouring ant colony to build ant nests has a wide range of quality, from the first grade lower to the first grade upper grade, and the quantity is huge and rich in spiritual energy. In the original plan, fertile spiritual soil has 2 functions in total. The first is to help the ant colony build new ant nests. The second is to mix into the spiritual field to improve the quality of the spiritual field in the valley and expand the scale of the spiritual field. Zhou Daocheng thought about it and found that in addition to these 2 functions, the fertile soil is also a high-quality soil-like treasure. Can it be used as the core material of the formation? At least in his opinion, there should be no problem. However, the 2 completely different soils, fertile soil, and deep rock and thick soil, have different characteristics, which may lead to different characteristics of the final formation. Zhou Daocheng immediately took out a large amount of first-grade high-quality fertile soil and made a preliminary attempt. The change of materials requires corresponding changes in the refining process of the formation plate, including the process of array pattern arrangement, which has also undergone slight changes. If it is an ordinary formation master, it is naturally impossible to make changes and adjustments, but for Zhou Daocheng, these are not a problem. It took 10 days for Zhou Daocheng to successfully make a set of a thick soil spiritual formation plates. But after using it, Zhou Daocheng immediately discovered the abnormality of the formation. In theory, the thick soil formation made of deep rock and thick soil is extremely hard and thick, and the defense is very terrifying. However, the new thick earth spiritual araya made of fertile spiritual soil has a much lower hardness, but has become more flexible, and the spiritual energy inside is also more concentrated. If used as a defensive array, the effect is naturally reduced a lot, but if used as a cultivation array, the effect is more than one level higher. Moreover, Zhou Daocheng was surprised to find that the fertile spiritual soil itself is a kind of soil with a soft texture and strong plasticity, so it can be used to build ant nests. If it is used to make an array, as long as the array pattern is slightly changed, the soil can be reshaped in the thick earth spiritual araya and built into different shapes. This is an ability that the original thick earth array never had, and it is a unique effect brought by fertile spiritual soil. This magical phenomenon made Zhou Daocheng try it immediately. After just a slight adjustment, the thick earth spiritual araya changed into the shape of a mud house, and the appearance was still very delicate. But after a while, Zhou Daocheng changed from excitement to speechless, because he suddenly found that this change seemed to be useless. Who would take a first-level superior array to need mud when he has nothing to do? This is really too naive, and it has no practical effect. Forget it, let's just use it as a cultivation array. Although the defensiveness has decreased, the cultivation effect is unexpectedly good. Zhou Daocheng thought to himself and reluctantly accepted the changes of a thick earth spirit araya. As he entered the array to practice, he could clearly feel that the surrounding earth attribute spiritual energy was much richer, and it was easier to absorb, which greatly increased the speed of practice. If he could maintain this speed of practice, it is estimated that it would only take 1 year to break through to the 9th level of qi refining. While Zhou Daocheng was busy practicing, Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan had also resumed their lives as casual practitioners. The two people with stronger strength are now like fish in water. If it weren't for Zhou Daocheng's task constraints, the two would have been happy long ago. In order to better hunt monsters and find suitable hunting team members, the two chose to go east. The closer to the direction of the East Great Wilderness vein, the more monsters there are, and the strength of the casual practitioners who hunt monsters here is also stronger. So when they first arrived here, they clearly noticed that the strength of the cultivators in this area had improved a lot. And the number of independent cultivators was also much greater than before. The two of them also roughly understood the reason. As the eastern border of the Qingshan sect, this place is a relatively remote place. Many independent cultivators who want to avoid war will go here. Therefore, in the past, there were no cultivators in the place for many months, but now there are cultivators. However, not long after, Meng Yushan vaguely noticed something unusual and frowned, saying, "Old Lin, don't you think there are too many independent cultivators? And many teams don't seem to be composed of independent cultivators." Lin Yuan held a spiritual grass in his mouth and chewed it slowly, saying indifferently, "If it's not independent cultivators, then who else could it be? It seems that many teams are well equipped and closely coordinated in battle. The number of people is generally 8 to 10, and they are all led by strong people who have 90% of qi refining. This should be a hunting team of a small family or small force." Zhou Daocheng speculated. Lin Yuan thought for a while, nodded slightly, and said in a low voice, "This is not difficult to understand. The Qingshan sect started a war and transferred many foundation-building masters from the family, causing many small forces to complain. In order to ensure family inheritance, many families sent a group of people to leave the family and secretly go to the vicinity of the East Great Wilderness. This can be regarded as preserving the fire and opening up a new path for the family. This is a very normal thing. Although Lin Yuan is usually unreliable, he is also a senior leader of a team of independent cultivators and has a thorough understanding of the overall situation." Meng Yushan nodded and said with some concern, "These family hunting teams are quite strong. I hope they don't do anything weird." Lin Yuan curled his lips and said indifferently, "I still hope they will be honest. If they provoke us, let Lao Qin go back to his old business and catch these family forces to fleece them and make a fortune." Meng Yushin was speechless for a moment. Did he really think it was so easy to be an evil cultivator? Killing people and robbing treasures is a technical job. You need to have enough luck, ability, technology and experience to be able to play it. Otherwise, you will be like Qin Lai in the past. He was caught by Zhou Daocheng when he was halfway through his business. If he had been a little more ruthless and cut him with one knife, the grass on Qin Lai's grave would be 3 meters high now. No, according to the situation at that time, Qin Lai would probably not be buried. If he was exposed in the wilderness, he would become excellent food and eventually natural fertilizer, returning to the land where he was born and raised. Stop talking nonsense, and complete the task of the young master first. I know, but we can't just catch casual cultivators in the mountains and forests, right? We have to find a way to understand the situation. Lin Yuan said helplessly. Meng Yushin said calmly, I have arranged it. Let's find an old friend to understand the situation first. Old friend, Lin Yuan asked in confusion. Who? Xiao Lan, your old lover. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Under Lin Yuan's stunned eyes, Meng Yushin quickly sank into the lush forest. A few hours later, the two found a hidden cave in the dense jungle. The cave should be naturally formed, narrow outside and wide inside, looks extremely irregular, and has not been artificially repaired at all, and is extremely inconspicuous. As the two approached, they heard a cold shout, Who is it? It was then that he noticed that the ground around him was actually covered with a layer of formation, which should be a broken first-level low-grade defensive formation. Although the strength is not high, it can serve as a warning and inform the people in the cave in advance if outsiders approach. Out of courtesy, Meng Yushin did not rush forward, but shouted loudly, It's me, Meng Yushin. After more than 10 seconds, no one appeared at the entrance of the cave in front of him, but several monks crawled out from another more hidden cave. Meng Yushin showed a surprised look and secretly sighed. This cave looks ordinary, but it is actually connected in all directions and has hidden mysteries. Come in. Meng Yushin and the others walked into the cave and found that there was something else inside. The cave itself on the ground is actually just a cover to warn others approaching, not the real hiding place for this team of casual cultivators. The real cave is actually deep underground. In the soil under the cave, a large space was dug out, which can accommodate 6 to 8 casual cultivators, just enough to meet the needs of a hunting team of casual cultivators. Although this place is very secluded, the overall environment is not very good. Not only is there no aura, but you also sleep in the dirt all day long. Meng Yushin felt quite emotional. This is the normal life of a casual cultivator. I think back then, he also lived such a life. Because he couldn't afford a residence in the city, and he didn't have the ability to occupy a spiritual vein, he could only find a secluded place to live in the wild, just like the situation before him. Just as he was sighing in his heart, a stern woman walked out of the dark cave ahead. The visitor was wearing a tight-fitting black outfit, outlining his proud curves, and his voice was as cold as a spring. Fellow Taoist Meng, long time no see. Meng Yushin smiled lightly, cupped his fists and saluted, You're fine. After just saying hello, the atmosphere became a little awkward. Although the two were old friends for many years, their personal relationship was not that deep, far less than that of Lin Yuan. They had already crossed the last boundary between men and women and reached the level of a higher level of life. Meng Yushin turned his head and pursed his lips toward Lin Yuan, signaling Lin Yuan to say a few words to ease the atmosphere. As a result, when he turned around, he saw Lin Yuan, who was carefree. His face was slightly red at this time, and he was hiding behind him slightly. Suddenly, Meng Yushin's head was covered with black lines, and he almost kicked him. Why are you so shy at this time? Isn't it usually very capable? Why is it wilting now? Xiao Lan obviously also noticed Lin Yuan behind him, glanced at him coldly, and proactively said, The surname is Lin, you have been missing for a year, and you are not dead yet. Lin Yuan's expression froze. He scratched his head and said, That Lan, I disappeared for a year for my own reasons. No need to say more, I have already set up a tomb for you. Go and lie down. After saying that, he ignored Lin Yuan, turned around and walked towards the depths of the cave. Lin Yuan scratched his head in embarrassment, but still followed them. After all, they came with a mission this time. Coming to the inner room, it was a dark and damp small room with a wooden table and a few old chairs. It should be the meeting room of this casual cultivator team. Xiao Lan, why did you choose this place as your residence? Is the environment too humid and dark? Meng Yushin asked. It is inevitable that Meng Yushin would have such doubts. In the past, when they were looking for a place to stay, they would mostly choose spacious caves or relatively hidden valleys. Try to focus on comfort and spaciousness as much as possible, rather than choosing a damp and narrow underground. Xiaolan made a pot of tea, poured a cup for the two of them, and said calmly, "Where can we get our turn in a station with a better environment?" Nowadays, the number of casual cultivators has increased sharply, and there are also many hunting teams from families and sects. The superior positions have been occupied by them. For casual cultivator teammates like us, the strongest ones are only at the 8th level of chi refining. We can only change our station every once in a while to make it easier to hunt monsters. That's true. Meng Yushan nodded, understanding the situation of these casual cultivators. Xiaolan took a sip of tea, sighed and added, "But fortunately there is that first level low-grade formation that can guard and cover up, otherwise I wouldn't be able to survive." Hearing this, Meng Yushan was also silent. The living environment of the casual cultivators was indeed getting worse and worse, especially the weaker ones, who were trying to survive in the cracks. The resources in the world of immortality are limited, and every one of them is indispensable. For many casual cultivators, what they lack most is land, which is the cultivation cave. Even many casual cultivators no longer have the concept of practicing in a cave. They only need a hiding place to satisfy themselves. Meng Yushan was quite emotional. If he hadn't been conquered by the young master, how could he have lived in the valley? And can he successfully break through the 9th level of chi refining? Not paying attention to Meng Yushan's melancholy, Xiaolan calmly took a sip of tea and asked, "Fellow Taoist Meng, tell me, why did you come to me this time? Isn't it just to reminisce about old times?" Meng Yushan also came to his senses and said with a smile, "On the one hand, I am reminiscing about the past, and on the other hand, I want to ask fellow Taoist Xiao for a favor." Xiaolan raised her eyebrows and said, "What's the deal? If it's troublesome, I still have to charge a fee. After all, I still have 6 people to support, so you have to understand." "Of course I won't let fellow Taoist Xiao work in vain." Meng Yushan naturally knew the rules. He took out a small bottle from the storage bag with a smile and pushed it in front of Xiaolan. Xiaolan was a little confused, opened the stopper and took a sniff. Her expression immediately became surprised. "This is the spiritual liquid." "No, the spiritual energy of the spiritual liquid will not be so strong, and it seems to have an effect on the face. This is spiritual honey," Meng Yushan explained. "The spiritual honey brewed by spiritual insects is a first-level mid-grade. A small bottle should be sold for 150 spiritual stones in the market. It can not only improve cultivation but also treat injuries." Hearing this, Xiaolan's face showed shock, but it disappeared immediately after a few seconds. He even pushed Ling Mi back again, with a wary look. "With such a valuable thing, what do you want from me?" Afterwards, Xiaolan looked at Lin Yuan with extremely distrustful eyes and asked suspiciously, "Is it possible you two want to sell me out?" After a few minutes of being honest, Lin Yuangong returned to his original appearance, and said nonchalantly, "Don't worry, don't you still know our character? Besides, you are not young and your strength is not high. You should not be able to sell anything. Price." Meng Yushan. He couldn't stand this pig teammate anymore and almost chopped him alive. Xiaolan's face turned dark, and her chest wrapped in a tight-fitting outfit rose and fell. She gritted her teeth and said, "Why do you think I asked this question? It's because I'm not confident about your character." Then, he added boldly, "Besides, with my figure and appearance, Xiaolan, even if I go to Luanmingju to sell myself, I will be worth more than you two." Quote. Such bold words made Lin Yuan and Meng Yushan speechless. Meng Yushan was also helpless. Lin Yuan was obviously outspoken, so why did he also scold himself? Ahem, fellow Taoist Xiao, I don't think Lin Yuan meant this. Meng Yushan still tried to redeem himself. Lin Yuan also realized that he had said the wrong thing and hurriedly echoed, "Ah, yes, yes, with your beauty. Even in Luanmingju, you must be second to none. Of course, I don't mean that you will really go. I mean even if you go, you will definitely be the top one. Forget it, I'll shut up." Lin Yuan only had a few brains left, and he obviously didn't use them to speak. After holding back a few words, he couldn't even listen to himself anymore, so why did he shut up automatically? Meng Yushan was still frightened, fearing that he would be kicked out on the spot, so he quickly returned to the topic. "Xiaolan, we really need your help this time." Xiaolan's face was already as cold as ice, and she said calmly, "Finish this sentence, or you two will get out of here." Ahem, we want to form a temporary hunting team to hunt the first-order peak monsters. We want you to help introduce some reliable casual cultivators. Xiaolan frowned. First order high-grade peak monster. Just based on your strength. But before he finished speaking, Xiaolan's eyes widened and he looked at the two of them in surprise and said, "You two idiots, actually broke through." Meng Yushin smiled and said, "I did encounter some opportunities and luckily broke through, otherwise I wouldn't have dared to pursue the idea of AAA first order peak monster." Xiaolan hadn't noticed it just now, but now she felt the aura of the two people and couldn't help but shudder. This was the suppression from the realm. If both of you have broken through the 9th level of Qi refining, and are assisted by a few 8th level Qi refining monks, you might really be able to hunt down the first order peak monster. After being surprised, a hint of surprise flashed in Xiaolan's eyes. Even though there is only one step between the 8th level of Qi refining and the 9th level of Qi refining, there is a huge gap between the two, and their status in casual cultivation is also very different. In a hunting team, if there are only 8th-level Qi refining experts, most of the time they can only hunt first-level mid-level monsters, and the monster materials obtained are also of low value. But if a hunting team is led by a 9th-level Qi refining monk, they will have the confidence to actively hunt first-order high-grade monsters. Even if they encounter powerful first-order monsters, they will have the ability to escape. The value of first-order high-grade materials is far from comparable to that of first-order mid-grade materials. What's more, it's a top-level first-grade monster material. That was a monster beast that was as powerful as the 9th level of Qi refining. Xiaolan thought for a while and asked, "Do you have any requirements for strength?" On the 8th level of Qi refining, priority will be given to those with good moral character. It is best to be a solitary cultivator, numbering about 5 people. Meng Yushin said. Xiaolan nodded slightly, and was about to agree, but after glancing at the two of them, he seemed a little worried. Then, after thinking for a while, he reminded, "Okay, I can help you contact me, but you have to promise not to do anything like killing people or selling goods, otherwise my reputation in this area, Xiaolan, will be dirty." Hearing this, Lin Yuan raised a smile on his lips and patted his chest without hesitation. "Don't worry, don't you still believe in our character? We will never make it difficult for you." Xiaolan glanced at him slightly suspiciously, always feeling a bad premonition, but after thinking about it, she still chose to believe the two of them. "Okay, then I'll trust you once, but it's hard to find peak first-order monsters. Do you have a target?" Lin Yuan confidently said. "Don't worry, from selecting the target, to checking the location, to preparing the crime tools, and cleaning up the crime scene, you will be satisfied with the one-stop service." Xiaolan raised her eyebrows, feeling that something was wrong, but she couldn't tell what was wrong. After the two parties reached an agreement, they also began to make preparations. Xiaolan began to contact the lucky people who were suitable to participate in this operation based on her own connections. After all, it is a rare opportunity to follow 2 9th-level Qi refining monks and participate in hunting the first-order peak monster. Xiaolan carefully selected and tried his best to choose some casual cultivators who were good friends with him and had a good relationship with him. Many monks were excited when they learned that 2 strong men at the 9th level of Qi refining were leading the team, and that they were hunting first-order peak monsters. The materials of monster beasts at the top of the first level are very valuable. Even if they are not the most precious core materials, just the most common beast blood, beast bones, monster meat, etc. can be worth a lot of spiritual stones. Moreover, being able to have a relationship with 2 powerful 9th-level Qi refining experts is also a very valuable thing for these solitary casual cultivators. Maybe one day in the future, this relationship can save his life. Therefore, in just 3 days, Xiaolan successfully contacted 4 8th-level Qi refining monks. 3 of them are solo cultivators, and 1 has his own hunting team, but the hunting team is not very strong and is not much different from Xiaolan's situation. There are 3 independent casual cultivators, namely, Sword Cultivator Bai Cholan. This person is very good with swords and has only recently arrived nearby Hefang City. Bald Wanglong, a burly man, picked up a broken physical training book in his early years, developed an extremely strong body, and gained a great reputation. But success is also a skill, failure is also a skill. Because the skill is incomplete, he almost went crazy and died. Although he barely survived in the end, his strength has not improved in decades and remains at the 8th level of Qi refining. Flower Girl has a beautiful appearance. Because her body has the fragrance of flowers all the year round, she is called the Flower Girl by other casual cultivators. She is also a pretty good spiritual planter. The last one, like Xiaolan, is the leader of a small team of casual cultivators. Her name is Wu Shangling. She is not very old, only in her early 30s, but has considerable strength. It is said that she was once a cultivator from a small family. Later, her family was disgraced. Destroyed by the enemy, he became a rogue cultivator. When Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan arrived, the four of them had been waiting for a long time, and both sides were sizing each other up. After Meng Yushan got to know a few of them roughly, he was very satisfied. These four people were not weak in strength and were considered outstanding among the casual cultivators of the same level. Four fellow Taoists are willing to believe in us and join the hunting team, and I, Meng, will never let them down, Meng Yushan said boldly. The bald Huang Long was tall and heroic. He said in a loud voice, "Senior, you're welcome. I wish to have the opportunity to hunt the first order peak monster together. But I just don't know what monster the senior plans to attack." Meng Yushan smiled and said, "Near the poisonous thorn mountains, there is a purple demon wolf spider, a top-grade first-order peak monster. What do you think?" Hearing this, everyone's expressions changed slightly, and this kind of monster information appeared in their minds. The poisonous thorn mountain range is famous among casual cultivators. It is located in the northeast of Baihei Road. It has a humid climate, dense forests, and swampy rainforests. It also grows many poisonous spiritual insects, including the purple demon wolf spider. This monster has a ferocious character and powerful strength. Once caught in its poisonous net, the weaker cultivators will lose their ability to resist in a short period of time and will eventually be swallowed up. The most terrifying thing is that the purple demon wolf spider will not kill the monks directly, but will wrap the monks with spider silk to keep them fresh and use them when they are hungry. Many times, the trapped monks often do not die directly, but will linger in the dark spider cave for dozens of days, and finally die in despair. Therefore, many casual cultivators are terrified of this terrifying monster. However, the value of this monster is also unquestionable, and it is more valuable than many monsters of the same level. The spider silk of the purple demon wolf spider is tough and strong, and it is impervious to water and fire. It is an extremely precious treasure and is very suitable as a refining material to make robes and silk nets. Whenever it appears in the market, it will inevitably be sought after by a large number of refiners, especially now, when wars are raging and the price of defensive magic tools continues to rise, and it will definitely sell for a good price. In addition, the spider legs and shells of the purple demon wolf spider are also excellent refining materials, and the meat is rich in spiritual energy, fresh and delicious, and is a rare delicacy. Whether it is sold to the market or found by a weapon refiner to help refine a magic weapon, it is of great value to everyone. The several casual cultivators present breathed heavily. For a casual cultivator at the 8th level of chi refining, if they could get a share of the materials of the purple demon wolf spider, it would be enough to equal their income for most of the year. Sword cultivator Bai Cholan couldn't help asking, "Two seniors, I wonder how the final harvest will be distributed." Meng Yushan smiled and said, "The spider silk and half of the spider legs belong to us, and the rest belongs to you." "Then what do we need to do?" Meng Yushan thought for a while and said, "Friend Lin and I will confront the purple demon wolf spider head on, but the spider silk around us is very troublesome. Once we are trapped, it will be difficult for us to resist. So you just need to deal with the spider silk around us." Hearing this, everyone showed a thoughtful look. Although they have never seen the purple demon wolf spider, let alone fought with it, they have heard of the fighting style of this monster. The strong spider silk will indeed affect the battle to a great extent. After thinking for a while, the tall and strong Huang Long took the lead and said, "No problem, if you just want to clear the interfering spider silk around, just leave it to us." Although the others were a little hesitant, they all nodded and agreed after thinking for a while. For them, being able to participate in the hunting of the top-grade first-level monster is also an opportunity that cannot be sought. Maybe they can take this opportunity to improve their own strength. Since everyone has agreed, when can we set off? Meng Yushan asked everyone for their opinions. Wan Yang smiled and said, "Since we are here, we are naturally ready and can set off at any time." "Well, it is better to hunt monsters sooner rather than later, so let's go directly to the Poison Thorn Mountain Range today." Meng Yushan also made a decision immediately. However, when he was about to leave, he saw Xiao Lan following him, and couldn't help wondering, "Xiao Lan, are you going with us too?" Xiao Lan said as a matter of course, "Of course, aren't you looking for 5 chi refining level 8 masters? Including me, there are exactly 5. Meng Yushan looked embarrassed and glanced at Lin Yuan obscurely. Lin Yuan immediately understood and advised. This operation is dangerous, why don't you not participate? They knew what they were going to do, so it was not appropriate to bring acquaintances with them. And in their original plan, they didn't intend to bring Xiaolan in at all, they just used her to find casual cultivators. However, Xiaolan said very seriously, I am also in the 8th level of qi refining, why can't I participate? Besides, with such a good opportunity, I can just earn some spiritual stones. Meng Yushin pulled the corner of his mouth helplessly. How could someone rush to deliver such a thing to the door? However, seeing that she had made up her mind, Lin Yuan did not persuade her. If he continued to dissuade her, it might arouse the vigilance of others, causing the plan to fail, which would not be worth the loss. After a little hesitation, the two decided to focus on the overall situation and add Xiaolan to the hunting team. In this way, a temporary hunting team of casual cultivators was discussed in a short time. There were a total of 7 people, 2 in the 9th level of qi refining and 5 in the 8th level of qi refining. Their strength was not weak. Such a cooperative relationship is not uncommon among casual cultivators. Many casual cultivators are independent and do not have a fixed team. If they find a powerful monster, they will also use similar methods to form a temporary hunting team for hunting. But this kind of cooperation is also very dangerous, because no one knows whether the other people in the team are hidden evil cultivators. Therefore, most casual cultivators will be very cautious about such cooperation, and will only cooperate with each other after ensuring that everything is foolproof. Meng Yushin and his companions were able to successfully form this hunting team. On the one hand, they should thank Xiaolan for their matchmaking. On the other hand, they were also casual cultivators and had some reputation in this area. With the successful formation of the team, Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan did not delay any longer, and the group rushed to the Poison Thorn Mountains. As they went east, there were fewer and fewer signs of active cultivators. The surrounding mountains were vast, and the lingering clouds were strange. From time to time, there were roars and long cries of monsters. The wild and vast breath came to everyone's face, making everyone alert. The environment here is becoming more and more dangerous, with various monsters appearing frequently, monsters with 4 wings, strange spirit insects with 2 heads, and black trees with venom flowing. The environment here is very unfamiliar to everyone, and various hidden dangers are even more difficult to guard against. On the 3rd day, they accidentally entered the range of the ghost miasma wood, and inhaled the colorless and odorless ghost miasma, almost dying here. Fortunately, Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan reacted in time and used their powerful spiritual energy to dispel the ghost miasma around them to prevent the poison from getting worse. Then Wan Yang took action and used a special pollen to help everyone detoxify the ghost miasma, and it took more than half a day for everyone to recover. The sudden danger made the group more alert. In this unfamiliar area, there were too many dangers that could take their lives, so they dared not relax at all. This also made them deeply feel the horror of the East Great Wilderness Vein. This is just the periphery, and there are already a lot of dangers. What kind of scene is deep in the East Great Wilderness Vein? This is why, although the East Great Wilderness Vein is rich in resources, few sects and families come to explore it, because without absolutely strong strength, it is impossible to walk out of here alive. However, this accident is not completely without benefits. The process of experiencing danger together brought the relationship between the casual cultivators who originally did not know each other closer. The 7 people continued to move forward, and it took them half a month to reach the Poison Thorn Mountain Range. The environment here has changed dramatically. A large area around Baihifeng City is where casual cultivators often live, and it is generally dominated by forests and mountains. However, as they continued to move eastward, near the Poison Thorn Mountain Range in the northeast, the air became much more humid, various spiritual insects and poisons began to appear, and the strength of the monsters also increased. Along the way, they have encountered several first-stage, late-stage monsters, most of which are comparable to the 7th or 8th stage of qi refining. Fortunately, with the strength of the 7 people, they were able to solve them relatively easily, but they still felt the pressure. Looking at the deep and vast jungle, the younger Wu Xiongling worriedly said, 2 seniors, we have now gone nearly 100 miles to the east, and we haven't reached the lair of the purple demon wolf spider yet. If we continue to go further, it may be more dangerous. Meng Yushin looked at the surrounding environment, frowned slightly, and said, don't worry, we are almost there. The surrounding terrain is relatively complex, and we need to search carefully. Since we are here, there is no need to be anxious. Can we return empty-handed? Bald Wanglong was calm. When casual cultivators hunt monsters, they usually only know the approximate location, so it is normal to spend a lot of time looking for monsters. The others were not in a hurry either, and began to search the surrounding area in a carpet-style search, looking for traces of the existence of first-stage peak monsters. This search took a full 7 days. Just when everyone was disappointed and thought that the hunt would be fruitless, Meng Yushin finally found the trace of the purple demon wolf spider's silk through a damp canyon with his keen observation. The 7 people all showed joy on their faces, and the dejection was swept away. They followed the signs of the silk and searched for the nest. But the accident came quietly. When the 7 people walked to a narrow canyon, the surrounding cliffs were covered with white spider silk, which was so dense that it made people shudder. As they went deeper, more and more spider silk appeared, as if they were going to completely swallow everyone in the white spider web. However, when they reached the end, the scene that appeared in front of them instantly made the 7 people's pupils dilate and they took 2 steps back in disbelief. Only dozens of oval-shaped white cocoons were seen, hanging in midair by tough spider silk, with only dozens of pale heads exposed. What was even more frightening was that they felt a faint breath of life among these corpses. The dead face of the corpse suddenly began to fluctuate after noticing the crowd, and its pale, paper-like lips slightly opened and closed. They're not dead yet. Even Huang Long, a sturdy man, was frightened by this scene. Although I had already understood the characteristics of the purple demon wolf spider, I still felt frightened after actually seeing this weird hunting method. The monk who was supposed to die completely was wrapped in the silk of the purple demon wolf spider, and penetrated deeply into his flesh and blood. He used the energy contained in the silk to maintain his life and ensure the freshness of his flesh and blood. They still have signs of life, but there is no possibility of survival and can only be called living dead. They will experience extreme despair and fear in the last few dozen days of their lives, and will eventually suffer mental breakdown and die from the nibbles of the purple demon wolf spider. This horrifying way of death left everyone feeling palpitated. However, there was another fact that made people's hair stand on end, almost making everyone's bodies stiffen and fear spreading in their hearts. How come? Here are the praise of the purple demon wolf spider. Wu Xiongling asked with a slightly trembling voice. No one answered her question, because even Meng Yushin was sweating on his forehead and his muscles were tense. The scene here undoubtedly indicates that everyone has entered the lair of the purple demon wolf spider. Everyone, be careful. It is very possible that, since we came to this canyon, we have entered the hunting range of the purple demon wolf spider. Meng Yushin said nervously. Xiaolan swallowed and couldn't help but ask. Then why did it never attack us and let us go deep into the nest? Is it possible that this is an abandoned spider lair? Lin Yuan looked equally serious at this moment, shook his head and said, no way, the spider silk here is all fresh, and with the character of the purple demon wolf spider, it is absolutely impossible to leave food uneaten. Then why doesn't it take action? Sword cultivator Bai Chulin's pupils shrank slightly when he heard this, and he speculated, I heard that the purple demon wolf spider is extremely intelligent and cunning, and especially likes to play with its prey. It is very likely that it is deliberately observing me in secret right now. Quote. It seems to confirm his statement. Just hearing a rustling sound, I quickly climbed over the cliff behind. Who is it? The bald Huang Long turned around fiercely, only to see gusts of wind and snow-white spider silk swaying slightly in the air, but there was no sign of any monster. Trouble. This is the home court of the purple demon wolf spider, and our chance of winning here is less than 30%. Meng Yushin said with an ugly expression. The monsters at the peak of the first level are already more powerful than monks of the same level. Under normal circumstances, Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan would fight 2 against 1, and with the help of 5 other 8th level qi refining monks, they would still have a slight chance of winning. But now, the home advantage lies entirely with the purple demon wolf spider. Even if the 2 9th level qi refining monks join forces, it is very likely that they will stay here completely. Is this the way you led? Directly into the monster's lair? Zhanshuo Baicho looked at Meng Yushin and asked coldly with a pale face. Meng Yushin snorted coldly, glared at him coldly, and said, pay attention to your identity. If you speak rudely again, I will deal with you first. You. Sword Master Bai Chulin's expression was uncertain, and the anger in his heart was suppressed. Seeing that the 2 sides were arguing, Wan Yang hurriedly said, stop arguing. There are many uncertainties in hunting monsters. No one knows the specific situation of the purple demon wolf spider. The most important thing now is to find the purple demon wolf spider, or find a chance to escape. Hearing this, swordsman Bai Cholan had to restrain the anger in his heart, but the expression on his face did not improve at all. But what Wan Niang said was true. There was a possibility of failure in any action, and they already knew the strength of the purple demon wolf spider before they joined the hunting team. Since you choose to come, you must be mentally prepared. But suddenly facing such a desperate situation still made it difficult for him to control his emotions. Senior Meng, I made a mistake just now. I hope you will not remember the faults of villains. The most important thing now is to survive. Swordsman Bai Cholan took the initiative to speak. Meng Yushin just shook his head slightly, and still looked around with vigilant eyes. Get ready for battle, I can already feel the aura of the purple demon wolf spider. The 7 of them were all experienced in combat. Upon hearing this, they immediately formed a formation and were alert to the sneak attack of the purple demon wolf spider from different directions. Then at the next moment, Lin Yuan suddenly exclaimed, "Be careful." I saw a large amount of white spider silk suddenly appearing on the ground under my feet, and it instantly wrapped around Sheng Sheng's ankle. The toughness of the peak first-order high-grade spider silk was extremely terrifying, and even a 9th-level qi refining expert could not break free. Everyone knows that the purple demon wolf spider has taken action. But the offensive was far from over. The spider silk cocoon wrapped in the corpse of the worker was seen flying towards everyone in front of them. Several people immediately drew their swords to resist, but they could not cut through the spider silk at all, leaving only a white trace. Watching the spider silk cocoons flying towards them, when they were only 5 meters away from everyone, all the spider silks instantly dispersed and turned into dense and fine spider silks to cover the 7 people. In just a moment, everyone was tied up. The spider silk tightened and released poison instantly, paralyzing the body and nerves. The next moment, the sound of panic echoed in the canyon. Wu Xiangling's scream, the roar of the bald Wanglong, Meng Yushin's struggle, the scream of the sword cultivator Bai Cholan. The seemingly powerful team of 7 people had no room for resistance under this first-level peak monster. The sound of struggle did not last too long. The poison of the purple demon wolf spider was equally terrifying. It instantly paralyzed the whole body in a very short time, making people fall asleep, and the sound of struggle became weaker and weaker. Wu Xiangling, who was the weakest, closed her eyes first, followed by Xiaolan, then the sword cultivator Bai Cholan, then the bald Wanglong with better physical fitness, and finally Wan Yang. All closed their eyes silently in despair. In the end, only Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan were left, relying on the powerful strength of the 9th level of qi refining, and barely held on. However, after the 2 continued to roar and struggle, they suddenly stopped their actions tacitly and looked at each other. Old Lin, they are all unconscious. Meng Yushin said calmly, the panic on his face completely disappeared. Lin Yuan continued to struggle for a few more times, breaking a few tightly bound spider silks, and shook his head and said, "It's really troublesome. If we follow the original plan, it will definitely be much easier." Meng Yushin shook his head. "I don't think so. Forcibly forcing them can indeed control them in the shortest time, but doing so is tantamount to directly enmity with them, which will greatly affect future relations. According to the original plan, they would directly seek cooperation with the iron-backed bear. With the excuse of hunting the iron-backed bear, 2 9th-level qi refining experts and a 1st-level peak monster beast were used to forcibly control everyone. Then directly force them to use spiritual magic. Those who surrender will be kept, and those who do not will be directly dealt with. This simple and crude method is definitely more efficient and has a high success rate." After hesitating for a long time, the 2 finally gave up on this non-illegal approach. This kind of behavior is even more egregious than killing people and buying goods. Once they are discovered, the 2 of them will be ruined and will be regarded as evil cultivators. They will no longer be able to gain a foothold in this area. And on the other hand, if you use this coercive method to subdue them, even if you use spiritual magic, these rebellious cultivators will probably not obey sincerely. Even those with a more violent temper would rather die than use secret techniques. So after careful consideration, the 2 chose a more troublesome but gentler method. Let the purple demon wolf spider tie up the 7 people, and then hang them on the cliff deep in the canyon like the living dead before. Although the toxin of the spider silk is equally effective on Meng Yushin and the 2 of them, it will not completely make them lose their resistance. The 2 of them turned pale on purpose, and then waited for the others to wake up. After 1 day and 1 night, as the dosage of toxins was gradually reduced, the remaining 5 people gradually woke up from the coma, but their bodies were extremely weak. The toxins of 1st-level peak monsters are extremely deadly to monks at the 8th level of qi refining. If the purple demon wolf spider wanted to kill them, it would definitely not be a difficult task. Where are we? Xiaolan opened his eyes in a daze and looked at the surrounding environment feebly. The rest of the people were the same, looking around in a daze. Under the paralysis of the poison, not only their physical condition was greatly weakened, but their spirits also became sluggish. Meng Yushan said calmly, "Everyone, we failed and are now in the lair of the purple demon wolf spider." Hearing this, several people who were thinking vaguely showed a trace of despair and panic in their eyes. Lin Yuan smiled miserably and said, "But don't worry too much, there is good news now." After hearing this, a glimmer of hope suddenly appeared in his despairing eyes. Xiaolan struggled to ask, "What's the good news?" There are a few brothers in front of us. They should be enough for the purple demon wolf spider to eat for a few days. We can also take the opportunity to survive for a few more days." Xiaolan. Huang Long smiled bitterly. "Senior, you don't have to be so optimistic." Sword Cultivator by Cholan frowned and said, "Senior Lin, why are you still joking in this situation? It's better to think of a way as soon as possible to see if there is any way to escape." What Bai Cholan said is true. As 9-level Qi refining experts, don't the two seniors have the means to deal with these two beasts? Wan Yang asked softly, her pale and haggard face even more gentle and sad. Lin Yuan still spread his hands indifferently and said carelessly, "What can be done? This big spider is too powerful. It should be more terrifying than the strong man at the 9th level of Qi refining, and it is only one step away from building the foundation. Are you just going to sit back and wait for death? That's not impossible. It would be a beautiful thing to be able to die in the same year and month as several beauties." Although Lin Yuan was hanging upside down, his hands had broken free of the spider silk, and he hugged his head and said. Seeing how indifferent he looked, everyone didn't believe his words even more. Xiaolan softened her tone and said feebly, "Lin Yuan, do you have any solution? Give me an accurate answer." "As this? I don't know, this situation is indeed a bit troublesome," Lin Yuan said with slight hesitation. However, it was this attitude that made the other people more and more certain that Lin Yuan must have the ability to escape from here. Huang Long struggled to twist his body, unable to break free at all, and said with difficulty, "Senior, since you brought us here, you can't leave us alone." Wan Yang also frowned and said, "Since you two have the means, why are you unwilling to help? Are you going to watch us die here? That's right, or are you doing this on purpose? Do you want to kill someone and seize the treasure?" Meng Yushan's face changed slightly when he heard this, and he snorted coldly. Meng Yushan, walk and sit upright, why do I need to use evil cultivators to kill people and seize treasures? Then why is the senior unwilling to help? Is there any other reason? Huang Long then asked. The Wan Yang struck while the iron was hot and said, "Senior, please take action. If you can escape smoothly this time, the Wan Yang will be very grateful and will reward you too with generous gifts." Seeing that he could not escape, Meng Yushan looked embarrassed and sighed, "I don't need any reward from my fellow Taoists. I do have a way to escape, but once this method is leaked, it may lead to the disaster of killing. It is really not suitable to be exposed easily." Senior, does he really have a backup plan? There was a hint of surprise in the turbid eyes of several people. Wan Yang hurriedly said, "Two seniors, feel free to use whatever means you have. We can swear by our Taoist hearts that we will never leak the news." Meng Yushan shook his head. "You and I meet by chance, how can we believe it?" When Lin Yuan saw Meng Yushan speaking, he no longer concealed it. He spread his hands and said helplessly, "And there is nothing we can do. This thing is very important, and our seniors will not let us be exposed easily." "Senior," Xiaolan looked at the two of them with doubtful eyes. As they exchanged a few words, the confusion in her heart became deeper and deeper. Why did Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan suddenly disappear for more than a year? Why did they both break through to the 9th level of Qi refining in just 1 year? Xiaolan knew the talents of the two of them very well. Although they were pretty good in casual cultivation, it was still very difficult to break through the 9th level of Qi refining. The few conversations just now also brought a lot of doubts to her. What is the hidden method? It can actually arouse the covetousness of other monks, and even cause death. Also, who are the seniors they are talking about? A series of doubts made Xiaolan's fuzzy thinking become even more sluggish, and finally he only condensed into one sentence, "Meng Yushan, Lin Yuan, what are you hiding?" The two looked at each other, faintly seeing a hint of cunning in each other's eyes. When the conversation reaches this point, the plan is actually half successful. Meng Yushan sighed and roughly explained. Xiaolan, it's not that we can hide it from you. A lot of things did happen this year. So what happened? In fact, we took refuge with a senior formation master and went to a first-class upper-grade spiritual vein to practice, and we also had resources to supply, so we were able to break through smoothly. Otherwise, with our talents, we would have made no progress in another 10 years. I see. Xiaolan's eyes lit up, revealing a look of understanding. Then your methods also come from making things difficult for the seniors. Yes, please forgive me, you and I are both cultivators, and there are always some unspeakable secrets. Hearing this, everyone was silent. This is the cruel rule of the world of immortal cultivation. Everything is based on self-interest, and no one is willing to do something that is thankless. Wang Yang was still unwilling to give up, and asked again, is there no other way? We can swear a poisonous oath. Meng Yushan sneered and said, poisonous oath. Do you think it's any use? Wang Yang's face was gloomy, but the next moment, Lin Yuan's words made him hopeful again. But Lao Meng, if you must ask if there is any other way, maybe there is indeed a way. What way? Lin Yuan hesitated and said, if you fellow Taoists also submit to the senior, maybe it is not impossible to save them. The eyes of several people lit up instantly. The sword cultivator Bai Cholan said helplessly, of course, life and death, do we have any other choice? Meng Yushan shook his head. Your Excellency thinks too simply. If you want to submit to the senior, you must set up a mental restriction. Mental restriction. The faces of several people changed, and their expressions were all unpredictable. Meng Yushan continued. You can think about it carefully. If you are willing, I can indeed take you away. If you don't want to, then forget it. The other 5 people looked ugly, and they vaguely noticed that this matter was unusual, but their paralyzed nerves prevented them from thinking too much. Only the choice of life and death became more and more clear in their minds. Finally, after a period of struggle, the Lakers finally gave an answer. Half an hour later, Lin Yuan set up restrictions in the minds of Xiaolan and Bai Cholan. Meng Yushan set up restrictions in the minds of Huang Long, Wang Yang, and Wu Shangling, and the process was much easier than the two had imagined. This was also due to the toxins of the purple demon wolf spider, which made the mind paralyzed and blurred, and both thinking and will were suppressed, so the process was easier. After everything was done, Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan also showed a hidden smile. Since we are all our own people now, we don't need to hide too much, just kill this beast and leave here. Lin Yuan's voice was clear and indifferent. At the same time, in his hand, a set of exquisite first-grade upper-grade array plates appeared, revealing a strong and obscure power in the mysterious breath. Meng Yushan also nodded slightly, and the quicksand array plate appeared in his hand, and a breath stronger than that of a 9th-level chi-refining strongman covered the air. Suddenly, the few people who were in a depressed state sobered up a little, all opened their eyes and looked over, and their faces suddenly changed. They could feel that this small array plate contained an unparalleled power. Is this a first-grade top-grade array plate? No, the aura seems to be even more powerful. Wang Yang almost exclaimed. Others also showed surprised eyes, and seemed to understand why Meng Yushan and the others were always unwilling to reveal their cards. Arrays are extremely precious, especially for casual cultivators. It is difficult to buy a powerful array even if you almost spend your life savings. What's more, this is a first-grade top-grade array, which can almost be used as a family protection array for small chi-refining families and small forces. As long as you have this array, it is equivalent to having a cave residence, which is of extraordinary significance, and the improvement of combat power is also very terrifying. Not to mention the 9th-level chi-refining cultivators, even many foundation-building cultivators cannot own a first-grade top-grade array, and its value is much higher than the purple demon wolf spider in front of them. No wonder, such a precious treasure, if it were me, I would never easily expose it. Sword cultivator Bai Cholan muttered to himself. When the formation was taken out, the sleeping purple wolf spider in the distance was immediately attracted by the powerful aura, awakened from its slumber, and made a rustling, hissing sound. But the next moment, Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan had already pinched the magic formula, the formation plate was activated, and the mysterious and complex formation covered the ground. The quicksand formation took the lead in taking effect, turning the gravel, soil and dust in the canyon into thick quicksand in an instant, and forming a vortex and flowing slowly. As soon as the purple wolf spider wanted to get up, its legs were sucked by the quicksand. The strong suction made it unable to move at all, and it was swallowed up by the quicksand uncontrollably. In just a few breaths, the purple wolf spider began to struggle frantically. The powerful swallowing power, coupled with the squeezing of the terrifying force, had already made it feel a fatal threat. It must be said that the power of the purple wolf spider is extremely terrifying, and it actually forcibly broke free of one of its legs. Seeing this, Meng Yushin frowned slightly, knowing that it would be difficult to get rid of this beast with just the quicksand formation, so he looked at Lin Yuan beside him. Lin Yuan understood and immediately used the A Golden Spear 100 Vine Formation in his hand. In an instant, hundreds of metal thorn vines broke through the soil and came from all directions, covering the sky and blocking the sun, like giant pythons moving in the sky. The sharp thorns did not attack the purple devil wolf spider first, but cut the spider silk that hung everyone first. With a bang, 7 people fell to the ground. The layers of spider silk that wrapped everyone were also cut by thorns, releasing several people. However, when he saw the situation inside the spider silk cocoon, Meng Yushin couldn't help but take a breath. The end of the spider silk was full of tentacles, like the roots of plants, which had been completely rooted in the flesh and continuously released toxins. If it was a few days later, the spider silk would take root deeper, and the toxins of the spider silk would fill the body. At that time, even if the spider silk was untangled, there would be almost no possibility of rescue. Meng Yushin did not dare to be careless, and hurriedly endured the pain and forcibly pulled off the spider silk on his skin. Accompanied by the burning pain, when his skin was exposed to the air again, he finally felt that he was alive again. The first to recover were still the strongest Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan. After getting rid of the spider silk, they immediately began to clean up the remaining toxins in their bodies. At the same time, he took out a small jade bottle and stuffed it into his mouth with a look of heartache. As the emerald green liquid flowed into his mouth, the rich spiritual energy was quickly absorbed by the body, and the wounds were also recovering rapidly. This small bottle of liquid was exactly the first-grade high-quality spiritual honey. Before leaving, Zhou Daocheng gave each of them a bottle, so that they could take it in dangerous situations and restore their combat power in a short time. And the current situation is just right. The effect of the spiritual honey was also very gratifying. In just 2 breaths, Meng Yushin's spiritual energy was mostly restored, and he quickly pinched the hand seal to use the quicksand spell. The first-grade high-quality spell may not be very effective when used alone, but with the quicksand array, the two complement each other, and the power instantly increased by 30%. The purple demon wolf spider, which was about to break free, immediately felt a stronger pressure, pulling him back into the quicksand again. He couldn't help but let out a shrill roar. The combination of quicksand formation and quicksand spell produced a terrifying restraining effect, making the purple demon wolf spider unable to move. At this time, it would be the main field of the A Golden Spear 100 Vine Formation. A large number of metal thorn vines would continuously whip down from the sky like a violent storm. The terrifying force, with a crisp sound of breaking through the air, violently slashed on the body of the purple demon wolf spider, making a thunderous sound. Snap, snap, snap. In order to avoid damaging the purple demon wolf spider's carapace, Lin Yuan also deliberately controlled the thorn vines to attack the weak points such as the head and abdomen as much as possible. Due to its limited body shape, the purple demon wolf spider could only use its carapace to resist and spit out silk to seek a counterattack. However, the effect of spider silk is only effective for monks. The metal thorn vines formed by the A Golden Spear 100 Vine Formation are completely unaffected by the toxin. Even when Lin Yuan saw the purple demon wolf spider start to spit silk, he was not afraid, but excited with his eyes shining. Tisk tisk, the spider silk of the purple demon wolf spider. And it's still fresh. If it's properly preserved, it's worth at least thousands of spirit stones. The spider silk of the purple demon wolf spider is actually divided into different grades. The worst quality is the worn-out spider silk in the valley, which is worthless. The better quality is the spider silk that binds everyone, which has a certain degree of activity and very high toughness, and is quite valuable. But the most valuable is undoubtedly the spider silk that has just been spit out, which is the freshest and richest in spiritual energy, and has the best toughness. It is extremely suitable for making high-quality inner armor and silk net-like magic tools. But relatively speaking, this kind of fresh spider silk is less in quantity and more difficult to obtain. It must be directly extracted from the body of the purple demon wolf spider while it is alive. Once the purple demon wolf spider dies, the spider silk in its body will also lose its spirituality, so it is very difficult to collect. And Lin Yuan naturally couldn't let go of the opportunity in front of him. He quickly controlled 2 thorny vines, wrapped around the spider silk at the tail of the purple demon wolf spider, and then continued to pull it out. In this regard, the purple demon wolf spider had no choice but to scream and spit out spider silk continuously. At first, it could barely maintain the speed of the thorny vines, but after only a cup of tea, it was completely drained. Everyone could clearly see that the initial spider silk was pure white, like a work of art. But the spider silk that was forcibly pulled out later was faintly stained with bright red blood, and the tail of the purple demon wolf spider became bloody and a lot of blood was spilled due to the long-term pulling of the spider silk. Obviously, such a reckless and brutal way of taking has completely hollowed out the purple demon wolf spider. Even the ability to make spider silk is almost lost at this moment. Looking at the collected spider silk, Lin Yuan shook his head with a sense of unfulfilled desire and sighed. I'm really lucky to have collected so many fresh spider silks. It's a pity that the purple demon wolf spider is a brutal beast by nature and is not suitable for breeding. If I can bring it back to the valley and extract spider silk every day, I will definitely earn a lot of spiritual energy. The purple demon wolf spider lying in the quicksand, although it didn't understand Lin Yuan's words, still felt the strong malice, and couldn't help shivering all over, and wanted to escape from here. But at this time, the restrictions of the quicksand formation, and the attack of the golden spear 100 vine formation, have completely deprived it of the ability to resist. In the end, Lin Yuan raised his gun and pierced the purple demon wolf spider's head with a long spear, ending its life. The huge body collapsed with a bang, completely losing signs of life. The entire battle process took no more than a cup of tea, and the speed was shocking. Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan were still calm. They had long known that their son's formation was powerful, and they used 2 sets of formations together, so it was naturally easy to fight against the first-level peak demon beast. But the other 5 people took a breath of cold air when they saw this scene. A purple demon wolf spider at the peak of the first level, whose strength is comparable to that of the peak of the 9th level of chi refining, was easily solved. Moreover, this was a desperate counterattack by 2 people who were trapped by spider silk and forced to fight in a difficult situation, and they could actually burst out with such terrifying strength. And all the credit should be attributed to these 2 sets of first-level superior formations. At this time, looking at the complete body of the purple demon wolf spider and a large group of collected spider silk, everyone seemed to see a large number of spirit stones waving to them. But after the surprise, there was only helplessness in the end. After all, they did not participate in the entire battle process and were not qualified to share the harvest at all. Moreover, at this time, they were already controlled by the spiritual secret method, and their lives were controlled by others. It was good enough to be alive, so how could they share the harvest? With the recovery of consciousness and thinking, they finally noticed a trace of abnormality. They encountered a life and death crisis inexplicably, were trapped by the spider silk sneak attack, and were finally controlled by the spiritual secret method in a daze. If there was no problem, they would not believe it themselves. But now that the matter has been settled, although they have a lot of thoughts in their minds, they are tactful and do not speak out, maintaining the last dignity of both parties. Only Xiao Lan has an extremely difficult expression, and the look she gives Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan is almost as if she wants to eat them alive. When Lin Yuan approaches, she lowers her voice and says in a tone that is almost gritting her teeth, "Before you left, you patted your chest and swore to me that you would never make it difficult for me, haha. In the end, you really didn't make it difficult for me, because you also did it to me." Lin Yuan smiled awkwardly, scratched his head, and appropriately avoided this question that was not suitable to answer. Out of apology, he handed each of the 5 casual cultivators a bottle of first-grade middle-grade spiritual honey to help them recover their spiritual energy and injuries. After all, the 5 of them are now his own people, and they will work together in the future, so it is not appropriate to make the relationship too stiff. As for the thoughts of the 5 people, Meng Yushan was naturally clear. If the 5 people had no doubts at all after this series of experiences, it would be really incredible. It was just that they did not dare to speak openly because of the spiritual secrets. However, Meng Yushan could not completely remain silent, and took the initiative to say, 5 Taoist friends, it is really helpless to use the spiritual secrets on you, but now that the matter is done, Meng will never treat you unfairly. The monster materials of the purple demon wolf spider are distributed according to the original distribution method, and none of them will be less. But this promise did not make anyone happy. After all, your life is in the hands of others, so what is the use of these external things? Seeing this, Meng Yushan continued. Besides this, you are now also the subordinates of the senior. In the future, whether it is a first-class cultivation cave, a powerful formation, or an opportunity to break through the 9th level of chi refining, I believe that you will not be lacking. When they heard this, the eyes of the 5 people changed. First-class formation. First-class cultivation cave. The opportunity to break through the 9th level of chi refining. Although they did not believe it very much, it gave them hope after all. Well, since things have come to this, I hope that you will treat us well. If you force us to do something we don't want to do, even if we die, I, Bai Cholan, will not agree. What fellow Taoist Bai said is right. The same goes for Huang. Huang Long agreed in a deep voice. Wan Yang also nodded and said, fellow Taoist Meng and Taoist Lin, now that the matter is settled, we will not pursue it too much. We hope that we can treat each other sincerely in the future. If we chill people's hearts, I'm afraid we will all end up dead together in the end. Meng Yushin readily agreed. As long as the first step is successfully completed, the rest will be easy. The original intention of subduing a few people was to expand the valley and increase manpower. It was not really malicious. And he also believed that the environment and conditions of the valley were enough for these casual cultivators to stay willingly. Whether it is first-level high-grade spiritual veins, powerful formation methods, and a comfortable and peaceful cultivation environment, these are all opportunities that can be encountered but cannot be sought for wandering casual cultivators who are at home all over the world. But that's all for later. The most important thing right now is to take stock of the gains in front of you. The harvest can be divided into 3 parts. The body of the purple demon wolf spider, spider silk, and other items belonging to the monks hunted by the purple demon wolf spider. Among them, spider silk was the most precious. Whether it was the spider silk cocoon that bound everyone or the fresh spider silk extracted from the body of the purple demon wolf spider, Meng Yushin put it away without hesitation. In particular, the spider silk extracted from the body is stored in a special wooden spirit box to ensure that the spiritual energy will not dissipate. Next is the corpse of the purple demon wolf spider, which is also a harvest that needs to be divided among everyone. The bald man Huang Long took the initiative to break it down, and with a powerful iron sword, he collected all the valuable materials from the purple demon wolf spider in an orderly manner. The 8 complete spider legs are extremely hard and sharp, like a sharp sickle, and are extremely high-quality weapon refining materials. There is also a complete purple demon wolf spider carapace, which is in the shape of a semicircle. It is extremely thick and has a diameter of 1 foot. It has very impressive defensive capabilities and is suitable for making rare large shield-like instruments. With the right technique, dividing the carapace into even scales can also be used to make armor-like magic weapons, but it requires more energy and the failure rate will be greatly increased. Spider legs and carapace, the 2 most precious materials, Bai Cholan and others did not take the initiative to ask for them. Instead, they chose to distribute some more common materials, such as monster flesh and blood. The plump and tender flesh and blood in the legs of the purple demon wolf spider is also extremely valuable. It is rich in aura and is a rare meal. The 7 people present distributed the flesh and blood among the 8 spider legs equally, and each person received dozens of kilograms, which was considered a considerable gain. After distributing the materials on the purple demon wolf spider, the 7 people did not leave directly. Instead, they went deep into the canyon to further explore the environment here. In areas where powerful monsters live, there is a high chance that precious treasures of heaven, materials and earth will exist. After some exploration, a few people found the lair where the purple demon wolf spider rested in a cave in the canyon. In the dark and humid environment, there were a large number of white skeletons piled up, as well as monks' magic weapons, storage bags, spiritual stones, scattered randomly on the ground. Most of them are damaged, but a few are still usable. The group of people picked and found more than 500 spiritual stones. Finally, inside the cave, they were pleasantly surprised to find a first-class, high-grade magical weapon, the Chongshan stick. This powerful and heavy magical weapon is extremely powerful. The first time the bald man Huang Long saw it, he was immediately attracted and couldn't take his eyes away for a long time. Seeing this, Meng Yushin was also extremely generous and gave this magical weapon directly to Huang Long, replacing his original first-order mid-grade sword magical weapon. Huang Long is a semi-physical practitioner, with a strong physique and explosive strength. He is suitable for using this kind of power-based magic weapon, which will greatly improve his strength. In addition, deep in the purple devil wolf spider's lair, 2 first-grade high-grade witchweeds were found, which have detoxifying effects and are needed for many detoxifying elixirs. After putting all valuable things into storage bags, a group of 7 people left the cave. However, they did not return immediately. Instead, they set up a fire in the valley and roasted the flesh and blood of the purple demon wolf spider. Everyone has been hungry for several days, their spiritual energy has been consumed a lot, they are in a very weak state, and they are in urgent need of replenishing energy. The tender pieces of snow-white meat make a sizzling sound when roasted by the flames. After one bite, the rich energy is absorbed by the body, and the fatigue in the expression dissipates a little. The experience of ups and downs made by Cholan and Huanglong exhausted. After a day's rest, they got back on the road. After walking out of the canyon and looking at the surrounding environment, Lin Yuan asked, Lao Meng, if we go back directly, should we continue to stay here for a while? After Meng Yushan thought for a while, he said, it's rare to come to the poisonous thorn mountains. Let's explore it for a few more days. Moreover, the monsters and natural treasures here are very different from those near Baihifang City. If you take them back and sell them, should be able to earn a lot of spiritual stones. Everyone also nodded. Different monsters and elixirs grow in different environments. Many elixirs that are common in the poisonous thorn mountains can be sold at a good price in Baihifang City. And it's a rare trip, so it would be a pity to return directly. Therefore, Meng Yushan immediately made a decision to explore the surroundings, hunt down some poisonous insects and monsters, and let Wanyang collect some elixirs. As a spiritual planter, Wanyang's ability to search for and collect spiritual medicine in the wild is far beyond what a few others can match, and she can discover many natural and earthly treasures that no one else can. At the same time, the hunting team, which consisted of 2 9th-level Qi refining masters and 5 8th-level Qi refining cultivators, was very powerful and could hunt weaker monsters without much effort. So, the group of 7 stayed near the Poison Thorn Mountains for about a month again. After seeing all kinds of poisonous creatures, experiencing the unique environment of the Poison Thorn Mountains, and harvesting a lot of natural treasures, they set out to return to Baihei Market after making a lot of money. According to estimates, if all the harvests from more than a month were sold to the market, at least 2,500 spirit stones could be exchanged. Of course, most of it was the value brought by the corpse of the purple demon wolf spider, but it is undeniable that this operation was very rewarding. Especially for Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan, not only did they successfully complete the task of hunting the purple demon wolf spider, but they also successfully subdued 5 8th-level Qi refining cultivators, which opened a good start for the team's expansion. All the way back, they headed towards Baihei Market. When they saw the dry forests and mountains again, the familiar environment made everyone feel relieved and felt like they were back home. Meng Yushan did not return to the valley, but went directly to Baihei Market, intending to sell a batch of materials. As the conflict between Qingshan sect and Lingding sect expanded, Baihei Market was also affected, and the flow of people increased a lot more than before. Whether it was the number of independent cultivators or cultivators from families and sects, there were not a few, which immediately made the place lively. But more people meant more right and wrong. Looking at the bustling streets, the bald man Huanglong couldn't help but sigh and said, with so many monks pouring in here, it will definitely bring about better development. Maybe Baihifang City can develop into a medium-sized city. Hearing this, Meng Yushan shook his head and said unoptimistically, development is inevitable, but the increase in the number of monks also means that disputes and conflicts will inevitably increase. It is better to be careful. Lin Yuan didn't care about this. Whatever, with our strength, ordinary families and sects don't dare to provoke us easily. Don't be careless. The increase in the number of monks may not be good for us. Meng Yushan's worries were entirely from the perspective of casual cultivators. The benefits brought by development are often only for powerful forces. For casual cultivators, they cannot get a share of the benefits at all. While they were talking, there was a sudden quarrel in front of them, and everyone couldn't help but frown and look over. What? This is a complete Earth-scale beast's back armor. It can be sold for 200 spirit stones at least. You are only willing to pay 120 spirit stones. The middle-aged casual cultivator's eyes were fierce and his face was red. The shopkeeper in front looked calmly and said coldly, that's the price. If you want to sell it or not, even if you ask all over Baihifang City, you will only get 120 spirit stones. You fart. I don't believe that no store would be willing to accept such rare materials. After saying that, the middle-aged casual cultivator grabbed the monster material back, cursed and turned around to leave. The shopkeeper behind him showed a disdainful sneer. And this phenomenon does not seem to be an isolated case. Meng Yushin and others have seen this phenomenon many times while walking through many shops. Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan looked at each other with confusion in their eyes. The bald Wanglong also scratched his head and asked in confusion, "What's going on? Why did the price suddenly drop so much?" As senior casual cultivators, we all know very well that the material used by the middle-aged casual cultivator just now is the back armor of a first-order high-grade demon beast, the Earth-scale beast, and it is in complete condition and can be sold for more than 180 at least. Even in normal times, when the price is 200, a large number of shops are rushing to get it. Unexpectedly, the price is so low now, which is simply unimaginable to them. Meng Yushin frowned and said calmly, "Let's take a look at the situation first." After saying that, he walked forward, took out the materials from his storage bag, handed them to a regular grocery store, and said, "Fellow Taoist, help me see how many spiritual stones these materials are worth." The shop owner just looked at it briefly and couldn't help but exclaimed, "Poison velvet flowers, the poison sacs of the fishy poison frog, the core of the withered silkworm tree. Is fellow Taoist Meng going to the 100 insect poison swamp?" Meng Yushin waved his hand and said, "With my strength, I would never dare to go to the poison swamp of hundreds of insects. At most, I would just wander around the poisonous thorn mountains." The 100 insect poison swamp that this person is talking about is a terrifying area further east of the poisonous thorn mountains. The terrain is complex and changeable, with a large number of swamps and wetlands, completely shrouded in poisonous miasma, and there are also many second-level monsters surviving. The environment is much harsher than the poison thorn mountains. The shop owner nodded in realization, checked the materials in his hand, and said with satisfaction, "The things are pretty good. We'll take them in the store, so I'll give you 350 spiritual stones." As soon as the shop owner told him the price, Meng Yushin immediately frowned and stopped the shop owner's hand. "What do you mean by this, fellow Taoist?" the shopkeeper asked with a frown. Meng Yushin said with a bad look, "The materials I took out are conservatively estimated to be worth more than 500 spirit stones. You only want to buy them for 350 spirit stones. Isn't it a little too dark? Black?" The shop owner sneered. "You haven't been back to Baihifeng City recently, have you? If you think it's black, don't sell it. The price is the same in the whole market now. You can go out and ask." Meng Yushin's face was gloomy and uncertain. "Are you thinking that Meng and I are easy to bully? 500 spirit stones, not one less. Ha ha." The shopkeeper pushed back the materials and just looked at Meng Yushin coldly. Seeing that the other party refused to give in at all, Meng Yushin said no more, took back the materials, turned around and left, and at the same time he was full of confusion. The shopkeeper behind him glanced at the materials with a slightly reluctant look, as if he was a little reluctant to part with them, but then he laughed at himself and said, "Ha ha, there are not many others in Baihifeng City, but there are so many casual cultivators. Is it possible that they are afraid of collecting them? Don't T have the materials? Eh?" Behind him, the clerk on the other side also echoed, "Hey, shopkeeper, don't worry, the war situation is turbulent now, and the prices in the entire market are like this. After asking around, he will have to come over sooner or later to sell." After Meng Yushin left, he continued to ask several other stores, but the answer he received was still the same. For materials that could originally be sold for 500 spirit stones, most shops are only willing to sell them for 300 to 350 spirit stones, which is a discount of more than half. What is going on? The price of materials has dropped so much, almost half. Lin Yuan asked, slightly confused. Meng Yushin also shook his head. This was something that had never happened before. Wang Yang speculated. Could it be because of the impact of the war? It should be very possible. That's all. Just keep these materials. Selling them at this price is really a loss. Although Meng Yushin was dissatisfied, he did not intend to dwell too much on it. Instead, he got up and went to Baiyun Pavilion, intending to buy some training materials, such as elixirs and talismans, to prepare for the next hunt for monsters. As soon as we arrived in front of Baiyun Pavilion, many monks had already gathered in front. Just by taking a glance, Meng Yushin saw many familiar faces. Many of them were casual cultivators from the nearby area, and there were even 2 9th-level qi refining cultivators. A bottle of qi and blood pill costs 100 spirit stones. Why don't you guys go and rob it? A first-level inferior blood coagulation pill costs 30 spirit stones. Isn't that a bit too much? A stack of first-level inferior fireball talismans costs 40 spirit stones. Isn't that simply robbing? Damn, these bastards, the purchase price of monster materials has dropped by more than 40%, but the price of pills and talismans has increased by 50%. Do they really think we are fools? That's right, the materials obtained from hunting monsters are not as good as the spirit stones spent on buying talismans and pills. Do you really think we are easy to bully? Quote. The store owner responded to everyone with a slightly sarcastic voice, expensive. Where is it expensive? Don't talk nonsense with your eyes open. When you have time, find out the reason for yourself. Have you practiced well? Have you worked hard to hunt monsters? Say it again. A casual cultivator was so angry that he wanted to step forward to argue. But the next moment, the store owner showed the aura of the peak of the 9th level of chi refining, which immediately made everyone speechless. The casual cultivators blushed, but in the end they could only be indignant. Some chose to leave directly, while others gritted their teeth and bought a small amount of pills and talismans. Although the faces of several casual cultivators at the 9th level of chi refining were livid, they did not rashly conflict with the store owner. Although the other party only had one 9th level chi refining strongman, his strength should not be underestimated, and there were even more powerful forces behind him. If provoked, the consequences would be disastrous. So the casual cultivators could only swallow their anger and leave. However, when they turned around, they saw Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan, and couldn't help but exclaimed, obviously aware of their strength. In the nearby area, the casual cultivators at the 9th level of chi refining are all well known, and almost all of them know each other. Therefore, the sudden appearance of two strangers from the 9th level of chi refining inevitably attracted people's attention, and they looked at these two people curiously. After seeing the scene just now, Meng Yushan knew that it would be difficult to sell materials or buy elixirs and talismans today. At the same time, he was also quite curious about what happened in Baihifang City recently. So, he simply did not go into the store to inquire about the price. Instead, he walked towards the two 9th level chi refining experts and took the initiative to invite them. Two casual cultivators, I'm on Meng Yushan, can you get to know them? The two 9th level chi refining experts looked at each other and did not refuse, but asked, Meng Yushan. It seems that you have some impression that you are also casual cultivators of this generation. Meng Yushan nodded and said, I used to be in the hunting team of Senior Wei Hanshan. I participated in the siege of the First Order top-level peak monster fire lizard 12 years ago. I may have met fellow Taoist. Hearing this, the vigilance in their eyes dissipated a lot. When Meng Yushan, Lin Yuan, and Xiao Lan were just starting out, they had joined the hunting team of a 9th level chi refining casual cultivator named Wei Hanshan, who was a very prestigious casual cultivator in the nearby area. Almost everyone knows him. The siege and killing of the fire lizard was also a very famous event at that time. 5 teams of casual cultivators led by the 9th level chi refining expert jointly surrounded and killed 2 first-level peak fire lizards, and Wei Hanshan, as well as one of the 2 9th level chi refining expert in front of him, participated in. When Meng Yushan accurately stated these things, the 2 of them lowered their guard a lot. One of them took the initiative and said, I have long heard that Mr. Wei is powerful, upright, and respected by others. Since he is one of his team members, it is worth making friends with him. Meng Yushan smiled and said, we might as well move to Qingyu Tower and host a banquet for the 2 Taoist friends below. Okay, then I'm welcome. Most casual cultivators at the 9th level of chi refining will know each other, which will facilitate future exchanges and mutual assistance. If necessary, they will also cooperate to hunt powerful monsters. The group of people went to Qingyu Tower together. This is a very famous restaurant in Baihifang City. It has an elegant environment, delicious ingredients and rich spiritual energy. It is also the most famous for Qingyu Lingju, which is favored by many casual cultivators and families. It's just that the quality of Qingyu Tower is quite high and ordinary cultivators can't afford it. Only casual cultivators on the 9th level of chi refining can barely spend money here. Meng Yushan just glanced at the bill and was shocked by the price. Just a bowl of jiaobailing tofu cost as much as 30 spirit stones, which could almost buy a stack of first-level mid-grade talismans. As for other meals with expensive ingredients, the prices are even more terrifying. If he were to eat them freely, Meng Yushan would probably bleed heavily. In the end, he gritted his teeth and ordered 5 plates of medium-priced side dishes, fragrant dew chicken, bailing dew soup, drunken clam meat, lingquan chicken feet, green lotus root slices, and a pot of Qingyu stuffed rice. When they saw these meals being served, the expressions of the 2 9th level chi practitioners also changed slightly, and they glanced at Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan with slight surprise. The price of this table of food is conservatively estimated to be over 100 spirit stones. Even many monks at the 9th level of chi refining would find it difficult to afford it. But the person in front of him is so generous and his strength is obviously quite impressive. Moreover, the two of them also clearly noticed that the strength of Bai Cholan, Huang Long and the other 5 people had all reached the 8th level of chi training. The strength of the hunting team can also represent the strength of the monks to a certain extent, which further strengthened the two people's determination to become friends. But they didn't know that Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan were not two hunting teams, but the same hunting team. If they knew the situation, they would be even more shocked. After 3 rounds of drinking, the relationship between the two parties became much closer, and one of the older, 9th level chi refining experts took the initiative to speak. Two fellow Taoists, for hosting us so generously, it should be more than just friendship, right? At this time, Meng Yushan also had a deeper understanding of these two people. Among them, the old man was named Xie Zhouhei, and the middle-aged casual cultivator was named Wang Qin. They were both well-known casual cultivators in this area. The two of them did not know Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan, but Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan had heard of their names for a long time. Meng Yushan put down the wine glass in his hand and took the initiative to answer. Thank you, fellow Taoist, I am inviting you two to this banquet. On the one hand, I really want to get to know you too. On the other hand, I also want to ask some questions. Ask some questions. Xie Zhouhei's eyes moved slightly and he thought for a while. Is it about the price situation in Baihifeng City? That's right. Meng Yushan nodded, suppressed the drunkenness on his face and asked seriously. The price of items such as elixirs, talismans, and magic weapons has increased. I can understand it. After all, the Qingshan sect and the Lingding sect are at war. For these the demand for items is high, so it is understandable that the value will increase. But it stands to reason that now that the war situation is tense and various resources are insufficient, the price of monster materials will also rise. But why is the purchase price of materials also reduced so much? Hearing this question, Xie Zhouhei let out a long sigh and explained, the reduction in the purchase price of monster materials is actually due to many reasons. The first is the increase in the number of casual cultivators, and even a large number of families and sects. Coming nearby, the amount of monster materials increased significantly. But this is not the main factor. After all, no matter how much material there is, the market will eventually be able to consume it without affecting the price. The main reason is actually the intervention of the family and sect forces. Family and sect power. Can you elaborate? Meng Yushan said. Xie Zhouhei continued. Fellow Taoist, you don't know that all the shops in Baihei Market are controlled by these families and sects, so whether the price goes up or down, it is not entirely determined by market demand, but also by them. Now the war is urgent. Qingshan sect oppresses all forces, and all forces dare not resist, so they can only continue to oppress the weaker chi refining families and independent cultivators, so as to reduce costs and accumulate some foundation for their own forces. Speaking of this, Xie Zhouhei smiled bitterly and said, we independent cultivators are trying to survive in the cracks. Even if they oppress us like this, what can we do? Hearing this, Meng Yushan was silent. He naturally understood these principles. The gap in strength made independent cultivators unable to resist these powerful forces, because the structure of independent cultivator groups was too weak to withstand the impact. As for going to other markets to sell, this is also nonsense. The distance between the two markets is at least several months, and it is very likely to encounter danger on the way. If you are not careful, you will die on the way. Therefore, even if the various shops in Baihifeng City become more and more aggressive, constantly lowering the purchase price of materials, and raising the prices of elixirs, magic tools, and talismans, there is nothing that casual cultivators can do. You have to sell when you should sell, you still have to buy when you should buy. For a moment, the atmosphere in the whole room was a little depressing. The oppression of family and sect forces is no longer a matter of a day or two, it has been with him throughout his entire career as a casual cultivator. Especially small cities like Baihifeng City are not controlled by powerful forces, so all forces are more unscrupulous. If it were a large city controlled by Qingshan sect, such as Luanfeng City, this situation would most likely not happen. After all, prices represent credibility. If they are changed at will, it will inevitably damage the prestige of all parties. Therefore, medium and large-scale cities under the independent control of powerful families and sects will have strict rules and will not be as bad as the situation in Baihifeng City. Wang Qin also sighed and advised, you two Taoists should just accept your fate. The current situation is like this. Even if a strong foundation builder comes, there is nothing we can do. If you really don't want to give in, then just hoard the materials first, and wait until the price stabilizes before selling them. We are all the same, we only sell some low-value materials, and keep the good stuff until the price take action when appropriate. Meng Yushan was silent, and Lin Yuan also frowned. Suddenly, Lin Yuan said, "Thank you, fellow Taoist Wang, since the shops in Baihifeng City behave like this, then why do we have to hang ourselves on a tree?" Xie Zhouhei frowned slightly and asked, "What do you mean, fellow Taoist Lin?" Lin Yuan lowered his eyes and said, "Since the family and sect forces are oppressing us casual cultivators, then why don't we just leave Baihifeng City and build a small city of our own, only for internal exchanges and cooperation among the casual cultivators?" As Lin Yuan's words fell, the scene fell into silence for a moment, leaving only the sound of slightly heavy breathing. After a long time, Xie Zhouhei's sigh broke the silence. "Oh, fellow Taoist Lin, you think too simplistically. How can it be so easy to establish a small market? Even if it is just an ultra-small trading place, it is not easy thing. Is this troublesome?" Lin Yuan asked doubtfully. After all, he was young and had far less knowledge than the older generation of casual cultivators, so he naturally asked without thinking. Xie Zhouhei was not bored and took the initiative to explain, "There are indeed many obstacles. For example, if you want to build a small city, you first need strong strength to clean up a safe environment, and in the later stage, you need to arrange strong people to carry out the work. Only by guarding can we ensure that the city is not invaded by monsters. Secondly, there must be talents in magic weapons, elixirs, talismans, etc., to supply these necessary items for practicing and hunting monsters. Otherwise, it will just be used as a trading place for bartering, and it cannot be called a workshop at all. City. Finally, we need strong people to take the lead so that this city can have credibility and make people want to stay here for a long time. Xie Zhouhei asked a lot of questions, which made Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan fall into thinking. To be honest, what the casual cultivators lack is never all kinds of precious materials, because they are active in the wild, and a large part of the materials used by the forces and families come from the casual cultivators. However, what casual cultivators lack is the ability to transform these materials into high-level cultivation resources, so they must rely on various forces to survive. However, when Meng Yushan thought deeply, he was surprised to find that perhaps these problems are not difficult to solve. There are no more than 3 difficulties: leaders, various immortal cultivation skills, and a safe environment. The leader can be taken by the 9th level Qi refining casual cultivators. They already have a certain reputation among the casual cultivators, and their strength is not weak, so they can fully play this role to a certain extent. In a safe city environment, this is relatively difficult. At least an environment is needed that has sufficient aura, can withstand the attacks of monsters, and has a certain space for development. But Meng Yushan knew that with the support of the young master, he only needed to find an environment with spiritual energy. Later, he could use formations to protect him and combine the terrain to form a safe city environment. This problem could also be solved. In the end, only the skills of cultivating immortals, the necessary elixirs, magic weapons, talismans, etc. are left, which are an important part of the monk's strength. Among casual cultivators, although there are a few people who know a little bit about the art of cultivating immortals, such as Wan Yang, these are still a very small number of people. Therefore, this has become the most difficult restriction for building a city. After thinking in his mind for a long time, Meng Yushan still did not give up. Instead, he looked at Xie Zhouhei and the two of them and said, "Two fellow Taoists, the situation of casual cultivators is already very bad now, and the oppression of the family and sect forces is getting more and more serious. If we don't seek changes as soon as possible, I am afraid the situation will only get worse in the future. Of course we understand the truth, but it's not something you and I can change," Xie Zhouhei said helplessly. "Thank you, fellow Taoist. If a 9th level Qi refining expert takes the lead and finds an area with spiritual veins to jointly build a miniature market, do you think it is possible?" Xie Zhouhei frowned slightly, shook his head and said, "Spiritual veins are rare, and most of them are occupied by family forces. Even if we can jointly fight for one, subsequent garrisoning will be a problem, and it will be difficult to ensure that it will not be attacked and plundered by monsters." When Meng Yushan heard this, his eyes narrowed and he lowered his voice and said, "What if a formation master takes action and arranges a formation around this spiritual vein?" "Array master," The eyes of the two people changed slightly, and they took a deep look at Meng Yushin. Seeing that he didn't seem to be joking, I was even more shocked, so after thinking for a while, I said, if there is really a formation to protect you, this matter has a slight chance of success, but do these two fellow Taoists have the channels of formation masters? A. Meng Yushin smiled and did not answer directly. After all, he could not make the decision alone and needed to return to the valley to report. However, such an attitude has convinced Xie Zhouhei and Wang Qin that the two people in front of them may be the channels for the formation masters, and their attitudes can't help but become more solemn. Xie Zhouhei thought deeply and said, if the venue problem is solved, then the art of cultivating immortals may not be particularly difficult. Oh, Meng Yushin couldn't help but look happy and asked, can you solve this problem? Xie Zhouhei waved his hand and said with a smile, after all, there are only a few casual cultivators who are proficient in the art of cultivating immortals, but we can solve this problem with the help of others. Who? Meng Yushin, Lin Yuan, and Wang Qin all looked at Xie Zhouhei in confusion. Xie Zhouhei said calmly, the power of the Qi Lian family. Qi refining family? Wang Qin asked back, thinking about it carefully, he couldn't help but frown. The same is true for Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan. They originally tried to open up a trading place exclusively for casual cultivators in order to avoid the influence of their families and sects. But now they want to join the Qi refining family, which is really puzzling for them. Seeing the puzzled eyes of several people, Xie Zhouhei smiled and explained, your thinking is rigid. The families and sects that oppress us are actually mainly the foundation building forces. Most of the Qi refining families can't even afford to buy shops in the market, and they themselves are in a state of oppression. Their living environment is not much better than ours. Especially some families that are proficient in immortal cultivation skills are often more easily restricted by powerful families. If you go and find out, you will easily find this situation. Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan remained silent, not because they disagreed with this statement. If they were casual cultivators, they would not understand these situations at all. But if Zhou Daocheng was here, he would definitely agree with this statement, because this situation had also happened to the Zhou family. It's just that the Zhou family used to be an oppressor, squeezing out other small Qi refining families that were proficient in refining skills. After all, if a Qi refining family has a benefit of cultivating immortals, it will definitely be easier to develop. If they are left alone and allowed to become foundation building forces, or even have second level refining skills, it will inevitably affect the Zhou family, which is something the Zhou family does not want to see. Therefore, necessary oppression is indispensable. Meng Yushin was not clear about these situations, but he did not deny them directly. After thinking about it, he asked, can Daoyu contact these families? These forces are often more cautious. If we contact them now, they will naturally not be willing to join us, but if the market has been established, I believe they will definitely agree. Meng Yushin nodded slightly and said, if so, we may really be able to establish a super small market, or even set aside the next best thing and set up a place for casual cultivators to trade. Xie Zhouhei nodded and said, yes, if the formation there is no problem with the venue, so there is a certain possibility. Quote, in this case, are you willing to contact other Taoists at the 9th level of Qi refining? I will contact the formation master and discuss this matter together. Quote. Hearing this, Xie Zhouhei's face showed surprise, and he said, are you kidding? Are you really going to do this? Meng Yushin laughed heartily. We are free cultivators, and our situation has reached such a point, so why should we be afraid of giving it a try? That's true. Xie Zhouhei and Wang Qin looked at each other, and saw the throbbing in each other's eyes, and their hearts couldn't help but surge a little more. In this case, Wang Daoyu and I will contact other Taoists at the 9th level of Qi refining, and this matter is settled. The two sides talked happily, and after leaving each other the contact information of the communication stone, they left. Xie Zhouhei and Wang Qin began to contact other free cultivators at the 9th level of Qi refining, and Meng Yushin and his group also temporarily changed their plans and returned directly to the valley. By Lin Lake. Zhou Daocheng's life is leisurely and comfortable. Every day, he stayed in the thick earth spirit formation to practice, and his strength improved quickly. He had reached the peak of the 8th level of Qi refining, and it would not take long for him to break through the 9th level of Qi refining. When he had nothing to do, he taught Daoyuan, Daoshou, Changshu, and Chengxi to practice. They were all very hardworking, and their strength improvement was not slow. At the same time, he also taught Daoyuan and Changshu to learn the knowledge of formations. The two had barely gotten started and began to try to arrange the spirit gathering formation. However, if they wanted to truly become a formation master, they would need a long time of hard work. The development of Balin Lake was also gradually getting on the right track. Under Zhao Yunji's control, the underwater cave was gradually being built. Whether it was the underwater warehouses on the east and west sides, or the underwater cave on the north side, that is, the side of the valley, they had already taken shape. There were also the planting of spiritual medicines, the growth of green-bearded spiritual shrimps, the breeding of Zhao Yunji's silk, and even the reproduction of purple-armored swallowing spirit ants. They were all in a thriving state of development. Zhou Daocheng sat cross-legged in the underground cave, surrounded by the earth-yellow Wu-earth spiritual energy. As the spiritual energy slowly converged, his body was as heavy as a mountain. Opening his eyes, he couldn't help but sigh, time flies. It's been 2 or 3 months since Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan left. I wonder if everything went well. Slowly exhaling a breath of turbid air, Zhou Daocheng was still a little worried about the two of them. After all, the environment around Baihifeng City is more complicated now, and there are many strong people. Although the two are not weak, they will inevitably encounter some dangers. Forget it, worrying is useless. Let's go to the underwater cave to see how my magic weapon is being refined. After speaking, Zhou Daocheng got up and walked out of the underground cave and went to the underwater cave. Hanzhou came to the entrance of the underwater cave and walked into the long passage. The luminous stones inlaid on the stone wall illuminated the space and led all the way to the bottom of the water. The originally cold underwater cave is now full of life under the management of the Zhou family. The Zhou family members come and go in the corridor and look very busy. After confirming that there is enough living space in Balin Lake, the family transferred another batch of clansmen here, and the number of clansmen here has also increased a lot. Zhou Daocheng walked in the passage and found that the atmosphere of life here was very strong. Even in a room deep inside, he could hear the sound of reading aloud. It should be the children brought from the family who were receiving education from their elders. No matter when and where, education is an indispensable link. Whether it is basic knowledge of cultivating immortals or advanced skills of cultivating immortals, it takes time to learn and hone. Even Zhou Daoyuan and the other 4 were arranged by Zhou Daocheng to come down and receive education from the family, so that they would not run around on the island. After Zhou Daocheng secretly observed the school, he was very satisfied and walked all the way to the depths. When I came to Zhou Chengyan's cave, I wanted to ask about the status of the magical artifact, but no one in the cave responded. After asking other tribesmen, they found Zhou Chengyan farming in the deepest part of the underwater cave. I have to talk about the layout of the entire underwater cave. The entire underwater cave is surrounded by a training cave, a weapon refining room, a school, etc., and in the deepest part is a space specially opened up by Zhao Yunji for planting and breeding. There is the most primitive and extremely fertile underwater soil here, separated by water-sheltering stones, forming a spacious space. When Zhou Daocheng arrived, he saw several family elders busy here. It can be roughly seen that this should be a kind of mushroom-like spiritual plant that lives in dark caves. It can live in dark and humid environments, so it is very suitable here. Grandpa Chengyan, I wonder what kind of plant this is, why have I never seen it before? Zhou Daocheng walked up to ask with a smile. When Zhou Chengyan saw Zhou Daocheng's arrival, he also showed a happy expression. He hurriedly crawled out of the mud and said with a smile, "Ha ha ha, of course you have never seen Daocheng. This is what your 15th uncle accidentally found from a cave recently. It's called Daocheng, earth spirit meat mushroom, can not only grow in large quantities in a dark and humid environment, but is also rich in spiritual energy and can replace spiritual rice to a certain extent." Quote, I think this place is empty. I have to plant something to make up for my daily needs. Maybe I can be completely self-sufficient in this underwater cave. Zhou Daocheng also nodded and sighed. It is indeed good. The new living environment, coupled with the new spiritual plants, if it develops well, maybe it can add another industry to the family. Zhou Chengyan showed a bright and peaceful smile on his face, and was very satisfied with the environment here. Since the family suffered a great disaster and the strong men in the family died one after another, the old clan member has not been so happy for a long time. However, when he came to Balin Lake and saw the hidden means of this younger generation of the Dao generation in this hidden underwater cave, hope was rekindled in his heart. Daocheng, you came here specifically, should you ask about the magic weapon? After Zhou Chengyan asked a few words about his well-being, he returned to the main topic. Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, not bad. Then come with me, the magic weapon has been refined for you, completely according to your requirements, but I don't know if you are satisfied. The two came to a warehouse next to the refining room, where a large number of materials needed for refining were placed. Some were brought from the family, and some were some natural treasures accidentally discovered by the Zhou family members when they explored nearby. Of course, Zhou Daocheng would occasionally provide some refining materials. In addition to the refining materials, there is also a wooden shelf with many boxes on it, some long and some short, of different sizes, which should be various magic tools. Zhou Chengyan walked forward and took down two small but extremely exquisite boxes. Then he handed them to Zhou Daocheng. As soon as he got it in his hand, Zhou Daocheng felt that the magic tool was unusually heavy, and there was a faint heavy breath coming out. After opening it, an even heavier breath came to his face, and what came into view was a set of extremely thick armor, which was khaki in color and had a frosted feel of rock on the surface. Zhou Chengyan introduced. Daocheng, this is the defensive magic tool you want, called Earth Dragon Armor, and the material used is the first-grade top-grade Earth Dragon Scales, which has extremely strong defensive power, and the attributes are completely consistent with you. Zhou Daocheng's eyes lit up. Even if he didn't say it, he could sense that this set of armor was extraordinary. Most of the defensive magic tools in the market should not be as good as this Earth Dragon Armor, which is enough to show that Zhou Chengyan is very attentive. After Zhou Daocheng put it on, he found that the armor fits his body perfectly, and the thick defense brings a great sense of security. However, there are some shortcomings, that is, this magic weapon is too heavy and slightly inconvenient to wear. Especially in daily situations, it cannot be worn as inner armor for a long time, which is a big regret. But it is precisely because of this that the defense of this magic weapon is so strong. Another magic weapon, the quality of which also reaches the first-class upper grade, is a bow and arrow magic weapon. Hunting Wind Bow. Among the magic weapons of the same level, it is also a top-grade existence, and its power should not be underestimated. Moreover, matching arrows are specially refined, and the quality also reaches the first-class upper grade, which can multiply the power of this magic weapon. Zhou Daocheng gently stroked the two magic weapons, and his eyes were very satisfied. Not bad, not bad. With these two magic weapons, my strength will definitely be greatly enhanced. With the protection of the formation, coupled with the powerful defense of the ground scale armor, his safety has been greatly improved. As a pure attacking magic weapon, the Hunting Wind Arrow can also enrich his combat methods and add a powerful attack. With one attack and one defense, the combat options become more abundant. Thank you, Grandpa Chengyan, these two magic weapons are very suitable for me. You are worthy of being the top weapon refiner of my Zhou family. Zhou Chengyan waved his hand and smiled. My skills are nothing. The future of the Zhou family has to be handed over to you children. Daocheng, you are much more useful than us old men. You can't say that. Zhou Daocheng was about to say a few words of comfort, but was interrupted and blasted out by Zhou Chengyan. Okay, don't comfort Grandpa, hurry up and do your own things. Grandpa, I have to go back to plant Earth Spirit Meat mushrooms, but I don't have time to chat with you. As he said, he blasted Zhou Daocheng out directly. Zhou Daocheng also smiled helplessly, bowed and said goodbye, and returned to the underground cave. The underground cave, as his most hidden cave, stores the most precious resources and is also the place he cares about most. The purple chi green bamboo, the black patterned lotus, the soul-devouring ant colony, and all the spiritual stones and materials are stored in the underground cave. Zhou Daocheng took a rough look and found that the purple chi green bamboo was growing very well. The highest quality one was infinitely close to the second grade middle grade, but due to the lack of spiritual energy, it could not break through for the time being. As for the other four, they have all reached the quality of the first grade upper grade, not far from the second grade. Even Zhou Daocheng had to sigh that the effect of the innate purple chi was really terrifying, which greatly enhanced the potential of the green bamboo. Originally, the green bamboo could only reach the first grade upper grade at most, but after using the innate purple chi, it was conservatively estimated that it could reach the second grade upper grade, or even higher. In particular, the first purple chi green bamboo may have already left the category of ordinary spiritual plants and become a more precious innate spiritual object, because it has shown a feature, it can emit spiritual energy on its own. Now, even without the spiritual spring, relying solely on the spiritual energy released by the purple chi green bamboo, it can barely reach the first grade upper grade. This is almost equivalent to an independent spiritual vein, which is also a feature of innate spiritual objects. As long as there is an innate spiritual object by your side, it is almost equivalent to carrying a spiritual vein with you, and the spiritual energy released by the innate spiritual object is purer and richer than ordinary spiritual energy. This makes the value of the purple spiritual bamboo hundreds of times higher than the original spiritual bamboo. Zhou Daocheng often thinks that it is a pity if such a powerful purple spiritual bamboo is only made into a first-class A spiritual sword formation. It would be best to wait until the foundation building period is broken through, and then use this to arrange a more powerful second-level formation to directly cover the entire Balin Lake in the valley, and completely protect the entire station. But the only regret is that no more green bamboo shoots grew in the later period. Except for the 5 green bamboo shoots that grew at the beginning, no more grew afterwards, resulting in the scale of the purple-green bamboo not expanding, which is a big regret. Next to the purple-green bamboo, the black lotus grows slower and its potential is far less than that of the purple-green bamboo. At present, the black lotus barely reaches the peak of the first-level upper grade, and has grown rhizomes and lotus leaves, adding a vitality to the monotonous spiritual spring. In the future, when it breaks through the second level, it should be able to grow lotus. These 2 plants are one of the most precious items in Zhou Daocheng's hands, but fortunately, they do not need to worry too much about their growth, and they have been developing steadily. In the underground cave, the only thing to worry about is the soul-devouring ant colony. After more than 2 months, the soul-devouring ant colony has also begun to reproduce. In the ant nest built with fertile spiritual soil, the first batch of 20 soul-devouring ants have been born, and now their strength has reached the first-level lower grade, and they are absorbing spiritual honey to improve their strength. Absorbing spiritual honey to improve their strength. Absorbing spiritual honey